Well, welcome to a very, very special Night Owls program, because tonight we do something we've never done before. At the present moment, I'm just going past a very, very old-fashioned front door with old-fashioned knocker on it. I'm walking into the hall. Now, it's pitch black ahead of me. Don't want to put any lights on. If you want to get the best out of what will be an absolutely unique, scary Christmas show, what you have to do is see through my eyes. I advise you, if you really want the adventure as it's meant to be, to switch off any lights that you might have around you now. I want you to draw curtains. I want you to switch off anything that emits a light from the room where you're listening to this, whether it's a bedroom, whether it's a living room. Obviously, if you're driving around, that's something I'd leave your lights on. But this is Alan Robson from Metro Radio and across the world on the web. I am live on the outskirts of the city of Durham, and I'm in a house that I've visited twice before, both times during the day. The reason I'm here is to complete something that started many years ago. I'm going to tell you the full story of this place as we go on. I don't know whether you heard that, but this house is empty, but it isn't. There's something, someone here. I believe the thing that's here is called Paul, or was called Paul. And there is a history of paranoid schizophrenia and aggression. The story you're about to hear is amazing, yet it is completely true. And you're going to hopefully experience everything that happens as I experience it. Now, I'm in a tiny little hall, very complete square. It's just as wide as a door. And the woman's got light carpets, so I can't give you the woman's name. She doesn't want to be identified. She was very reluctant to let us do this because she thinks her friends will take the mickey and humiliate her, because they've all thought she's been going quite mad with this. She isn't. She's in a very difficult situation. Now, what I have to do is slip my shoes off and take them with me, and as I move through the glass door into the main body of the house. I don't know whether you can hear that, but did you hear that? Did you hear that? It's almost like somebody's walking around upstairs. Oh, hello. Hello. And now it's pitch black. I'm staring directly up the stairs. To my right-hand side, there's a little side table. And there's a little wooden thing that I've got to put my shoes on at the side. I've been briefed. The lady doesn't live here at the moment. Right, I'm in. The lady doesn't live here at the present moment because she's been literally scared out of here. Jeez. I'm about a foot away from that door. Yet it's just made a noise, and that is, I couldn't have scripted that. I'm turning around, looking at the door, seeing just a hint of reflection in the glass, which I must admit, you can usually see stuff in reflection. I can very, very vaguely see the shape of myself. I'm wearing kind of a white top and combats. I'm going to take my socks off as well. You can feel more when you're walking down. It's always a sign that you're reasonably healthy when you can take your socks off without falling over. And I'm fortunately at least that well. The first things we're going to do, we're going to scout the ground floor. Listen, now, this might just be me, but I'm fairly sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the microphone up at the stairs. Now, I swear to you, I'm the only person in this house. Nobody else here. But I can hear a kind of kind of a swirling noise. I don't know whether you're going to get this, because but there's kind of a swirling thing going on. And a bit of a creaking. Just the odd hint. What you have to do is close your eyes and allow me to be your eyes in this house. Now, oh, hello. The reason why you have to visit places like this and be quiet, and it's very difficult because radio is designed for whoever's operating it, someone like myself, to fill every second. And yet, sometimes you've just got to be quiet in a place like this to pick up everything that happens. The story of this house is a horrendous one. It's an awful story. And I'll tell you the reason I'm here, and I'll tell you the tale of this place. But the risky thing that we're going to do is share with you the voices of the dead. We're going to give you incantations to summon spirit in a house where there already is an aggressive spirit. Now, I've never done anything like that before. And towards the end of this night, I'm going to be carrying out an exorcism too. So you're in for a pretty busy time. And while I was here the last twice, strange noise, I'm not moving at all, yet I'm getting kind of a crunchy sound coming from directly above my head. And I'm standing, I think, probably beneath like the upstairs hall, you know, like the thing that runs off to the bedrooms. I'm looking up into the blackness, and it's very black. Ahead of me is a little bit of darkness. There's a hint of light because I think through the house, the other side, the kitchen light was left on. The lady came in this afternoon to pick up some clothes and stuff. And I will tell you the reason why she isn't here. And she has a damn good reason. But first of all, I'm going to move straight ahead, kind of hugging the wall to... Hang on, what's this? I don't know what this is. Oh, that's better. I don't know what it is about a room suddenly flooding with light that makes you feel a little bit reassured. Got a sneaky suspicion I'm going to be needing this by the end of the night. Shut the lid. Feng Shui. Right. Right, and through here... I'm now in the kitchen. And it's time for us to share the first noise that we have recorded. All year long, we've asked you to send in anything that you've captured that is remotely ghostly. And the first one is, I think, quite amazing. It's from a lady called Chrissy. Chrissy lives in Washington, and she sent this in. Now, I'm banking that Matt back at the studio will be able to play in the sounds of these things. But it's a house in... Do you know, this is quite unpleasant. I've just got a really stabbing pain in my left temple. I nearly said right temple, but it's my left temple. A real stabbing pain. And I don't know whether that's anything to do with this house, because there does seem to be a pressure here. And there's a small light directly above, like the worktop here in this kitchen. It's a small kitchen. There's like one side of the kitchen which is a long bench. The cupboards are a kind of a slightly darker than pine colour. Lying on the draining board here, there's a variety of knives and a couple of glasses and one of those things that you use to scoop your veg out, and a plug hole that's kind of blocked. Not looking very nice. A couple of plants that look very withered and unhappy. This lady hasn't lived in the house for a few weeks now. I was contacted not by her, but by the people that she's living with, because they're night owls. And essentially they want her out for Christmas. They want have their house back so they can bring their family round and celebrate the holiday period. And that's why I'm here, to try and win her house back for her. Across the draining board there's some fairy liquid. She's obviously environmentally friendly. There's some hand soap, lavender and aloe vera, some Mr. Muscle and Domestos, and I'm pretty sure any good you do with the aloe vera thing is probably undone by putting those kind of chemicals in your sink, but I think most of us probably do it. Anyway, I've got to steel myself now, because the first sound of the dead has to come your way. I was just about to start on that when I got that whazz in my temple. It's stinging, absolutely stinging. Anyway, here we go. This is based in Washington. Hang on, there's a little kind of kitchen chair down here. I'm just going to sit down on it. Chrissy lives in a house in Washington where a troubled teenage girl had taken her own life. It was a drug overdose, and that had followed about 5 years of self-harm and the girl running off the rails. Genuinely considered by the estate trouble and a neighbour from hell and all those kind of things. Problem is, following her death, her family had long since moved out of the house, and people who had lived in the next street along had bought the house at a reduced rate, knowing full well that a tragedy had occurred there. Within 24 hours of moving in, they knew they might well have made a big mistake. On getting out of bed, the entire contents of all the kitchen drawers and cupboards were emptied out onto the kitchen floor. Every night for weeks, something would happen in that room, and no matter what they did, it continued happening. They held prayer sessions. They even asked one of their friends, a spiritualist, to come and cleanse the house without success. Did you hear a knock there? I heard a knock just to my right-hand side. Can't see anything. There's a little bit of light in here allowing me to read, and I didn't see any sign of movement whatsoever, but I heard a knock. Anyway, this house in Washington, they held prayers. They asked a spiritualist from the local church to visit and cleanse the house without success. I've visited the house 3 times and finally held an exorcism. Before I did the exorcism, I actually left a recording device in the kitchen. It's a piece of equipment, for those that know the business, called a Marantz. We use a lot of these for sending our news team out to pick up news stories and stuff like that. I left the device overnight. Now, it can record up to 7 hours. And I left it recording, and I got, the following day, pretty much non-stop activity for almost 40 minutes. You had to listen all the way through the tape, and you can put it onto a computer and you can kind of flick along really quickly to see if any sound kicks. And when it does, you just center in on that and you can listen to it back. Didn't get any voices, but plenty evidence of a busy and active presence that was fairly keen to make its mark. The cooker was being turned on. It sounded like the microwave was tinging, cutlery moving, scratching, a strange shuffling sound. The entire family listened back to the recording before allowing me in to clear the property. It was my 11th successful exorcism, and since that day the building has had a far more pleasant atmosphere. Now, I'm obviously not going to play you 40 minutes, but the sound of something in a kitchen is our first sound tonight. Matt, if you could play that, please. Alan Robson with you live from a house with a poltergeist on the outskirts of the city of Durham, England. More voices of the dead next. Alan Robson with you live from a house on the outskirts of the city of Durham. And this is a house where there is an unpleasant entity living here. And ever since I arrived here, I've been aware that upstairs stuff is moving around. I can hear things right now, directly above my head. I'm not going to do the twee, is there anybody there? I know there's somebody here. And I believe his name to be Paul. Paul? Paul? Oh, jeepers, something's just fallen on my foot. And it's actually a night owl sticker that's just peeled off the equipment that I'm carrying. So that was kind of self-inflicted, but it just kind of hit me. That's me crinkling it up. Where does she keep her bin? Probably over here, other side of the kitchen. I'm a tidy boy when I'm in somebody else's house. I'm looking at the coffee machine and wishing it was on, and walking through. Hello, Paul. I mean you no harm. Hi, Paul. Nothing's happening. I've got a story to tell you that was set in Guernsey. All the way through tonight we're going to be... Listen, listen. Do you get that? The difficulty with doing radio when you're not in a studio is you have no idea whether you're picking up the same kind of noise that I am. But I heard something there and it was actually in this room. Listen. Now that's got to be opposite side of the room to where I am. Is that you, Paul? Is that you, Paul? Big swallow. Doesn't matter how many times you do anything like this. It's the last time I was here, I heard things move. I'm hearing things move upstairs now. Like something sliding around up there. I'm going to be going upstairs a little later on. Now upstairs is where pretty much all of the major experiences have taken place. And it's up there where there was a very... Listen to that. Paul, if that's you, thank you. Thank you for letting me share your space. If, of course, you're not Paul, then I'm sounding stupid. You do have to be a tad careful. I'm going to do one more of the tales and share another sound of, well, inexplicable sound. And this one is actually quite well known, but there is absolute proof of it, and I'm going to share that with you right now. It's a story from the Channel Islands. It's actually Guernsey, and it's the unlockable door from Guernsey. But they've caught this on videotape, and it's one of the most amazing things. I've seen this, and it is quite simply impossible. I don't think anybody knows more than me that there are a lot of good reasons for buying double glazing. And, oh, hang on, if you move through here, they've actually got a really small conservatory through here. I'll go in there a little bit later on. There's lots of good reasons to buy double glazing, but to prevent a ghost from helping thieves, I think it's got to be one of the strangest yet. This is a story from Guernsey where Richard Swan, I think the guy's name was, had inherited an old farm cottage from grandparents and decided to move straight in. He'd previously spent his time living with his parents because he got divorced back in 1967. Now, the cottage was pretty oldie-worldy, very much to an elderly lady's taste. So modernisation had to happen. First, he brought the few bits of furniture he had left. He bought some new, changed like the old patterned carpets, and dug out his paintbrush to give the place a splash of colour. His gran had been a favourite in that area of Guernsey. Everybody loved her. One of these old grannies that everybody loves. They used to say about her, her door was always open for everyone, and that was true. Literally true. Day or night, she would leave her old wooden back door closed too. Do you know that phrase that means there's like an inch, it's open an inch, so that anybody could come in at any time. Anybody who fancied popping in, they didn't need to get her out of her favourite chair or get her out of bed, they could just pop in. I mean, this woman was in her 80s and she suffered from arthritis and countless other conditions. And when she died, it had been a great loss to the entire estate. Still, Richard had to secure the property. You wouldn't leave your door open, so he put a big bolt lock on the back door to keep it closed. Closed until he got up every morning. Every single time he got out of bed, that door was unlocked and actually open again. He told all of his friends they thought he was having them on. Yet every morning, no matter how securely he'd fastened that door, it was open. Finally, following a short item on local television, a group of students decided to bring a camera and put the camera on the door and leaving it running during the night. The following morning, they had nothing, yet the door was open. The film had run out before it captured whoever or whatever was opening the door. 5 nights in a row this camera was set at different times. On 2 occasions, the camera had been moved to point in other directions. On one, it had been pushed over, yet still managed to focus in on a mirror that was in that hall, and you can clearly see a dark shape moving past the mirror. Yet on the very last night they filmed, there it was, clearly the bolt unlocking itself as unseen hands opened the door. Perhaps it was the spirit of that old lady opening the door, as had been a habit for 40-odd years. The film recording of that was clear and straightforward. To this day, science has yet to attempt any kind of explanation at all. Matt, play the clip. This is the actual recording from the camcorder that captured the unlocking door. Well, what about that? Fantastic. And Matt, thank you very much. Matt's back at the studio making sure that everything is being played out. My thanks to him. And it's the Night Owls programme. Oh, hang on, did you get that? Just heard another noise. The atmosphere in this house is intense. And I'm downstairs. I've got to go upstairs at some point. There's a hell of a story here. But I want to try and get as many of the voices of the dead features out of the way so we can concentrate on getting you to take part in an incantation of some kind. Do you want to see spirit in your own home tonight? There is one that we've done many times. It has always worked. Not for everybody, but for an awful lot of you. We need a candle. We need a mirror. Ideally chicken blood, but it's not necessary. A candle. That's the old-fashioned way of doing it. A candle will work, and a mirror. Essentially, that is the main thing that you're going to need. Also tonight, we're going to try something called a looking glass invocation. And it is a very, very old-fashioned, oldie world thing. And it's to help you make contact with somebody that you love and care for who's passed over to the other side. And tonight you're going to hear the voices of the dead. You may already have done that. But we're also going to be playing something that will attract spirit to you tonight. It's the first time this has ever been done on British radio anywhere. Many years ago we played a sound that attracts insects, particularly spiders. And we played it and people got insects in their homes. They suddenly saw dozens and dozens of insects that just came out from wherever they were. That freaked a lot of people out. Imagine if we have the same result inviting spirit. I believe with all my heart that we're surrounded by energy all the time. Science would agree with that regard. We're surrounded with radio waves, we're surrounded by mobile telephone signals, TV satellite channels, standard television channels, radio waves of every station under the world that's booming around in all directions. And mixed in the middle of that soup of energy, there are other things that move amongst us. And I believe they're in all of our houses, including yours, right now. The house that I'm in has a one that likes to show off, likes to be aggressive, likes to be unpleasant, especially when you go upstairs. Last time I was here, when I was downstairs, I was relatively unhindered. You'd hear the odd noise, the odd something. Mainly right on cue. You'd hear the odd little noise. And there's a smell in this place. And the nearer you get to upstairs, the more vile it is. That the nearest thing to it is musty houses. When I was a little kid, you would go to somebody's house and they'd have been cooking something like cabbage, and you'd have this pervasive stench that, and how anybody could possibly find it appetizing is completely beyond me. It's a horrible smell, and it's kind of like that, like armpits or old man's underpants. It is just not a nice smell. And I must admit, hand on heart, we are taking a bit of a chance tonight, because to incant spirit in a house where it's already kind of got more than it needs is a risk. Now, I've explained this to the lady who owns the property, and she's game for it. I was game for it until I actually got here. It's quite intimidating, but let's carry on. It's the Night Owls, Britain's most listened to. And this evening, Exorcism, the voices of the dead. Don't go anywhere. This is Scary Christmas. The only show of its kind in Britain. Metro Radio and across the world on the web. Alan Robson with you, Metro Radio. I am now standing in the kitchen of this house in Durham. I must admit, I've been trying to find where she keeps her coffee. I could do with something tonight. Sugar. Tea. Oh, that's a start. Empty. Must be out of coffee. You've got to strain your ears when you're in a place like this. Do you know, sometimes when we ask you to send in your various sounds, if you've managed to pick up something from beyond the grave, sometimes you do a really corking job of it. And the Queen's Head in Sheriff Hill, a regular night owl, decided to go and record in the Queen's Head. We've managed to catch about 2 minutes of this man at the bar in Sheriff Hill in Gateshead, and you clearly hear him and the people that he's with on the ghost hunt. You hear that at the very beginning of this clip that he sent, a sound file he sent across to our computers. And then he leaves the recording device in a room by itself. As soon as he leaves, there was a very, very, very long pause where nothing happened. But I fast-forwarded that tape to save you having to listen to the emptiness. And I'll give you the juice. So let's go there now. More voices from beyond the grave. This time, the Queen's Head, Sheriff Hill, Gateshead. And this is their ghost hunt. 2 minutes of what I think is pretty damn good stuff.
Right, we're at the back of the fire, at the back of the house at the fire exit. There is a fan running in the background. Someone's left the fan on. So where's that door going? That's on this, opposite the function room. So I would say to the back of the function room. Aye. But we didn't need a camera, we were doing that door.
Another passageway, we just walked in.
Right, I'll just go up here. I'm going to put the mic in the recorder on top of the windowsill. Quite high windowsill now, so at least 5 foot away.
There's no can knock that off.
No.
Turn the light off. Where about turn it off?
It's almost always
And it's what I've always said that you lot should do. You should place recording devices in empty rooms. Because they may look empty, but quite often they're not. Quite often there is stuff going on, and you just gotta take a chance. Some nights you'll get nothing, some nights you'll get absolutely everything, and it will be so worth while I'm turning around looking at a white door, and it's just closed whilst it was behind me. I've kind of swung around. Is it on one of them things that shuts? Because I've not long been through there. Doesn't look like it. I'm going to open it. I don't know whether it's just because I've watched so many horror films. When a door shuts, do you open it? Yeah, I suppose you do. It goes down that hall area where I left my shoes, with a small little table at the top end. It's really dark. Once again, upstairs, I'm getting little bits of kind of creaky noise coming from directly above my head. I don't know whether you're making any of it out. There's a bit. Did you hear that? There's some more. It's directly above the head. To say that it's footsteps is not accurate. But there's something moving around upstairs in an empty room. I'm going back in the kitchen just for a minute. Ho. I want to get as many of our tales told tonight. Now, and I think the thing to do, I'm shutting the door. Right, so that doesn't happen again. We have so many stories to tell. In about 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you the story of this house. and the reason that I'm here. Listen. Can you hear that? It's as if something's being pulled upstairs. Listen. I hope you're making that out. Because that is in a different... It's so obviously in a different room. Listen. That's amazing. That is amazing. I hope you're getting it. I'm looking down at the little gauge on the side of my transmitting device, and you don't know whether you're getting it or whether you're not. Still going on. Still happening up there. Isn't this strange? My questions are not whether there are things about. It's why would you? Is this just for my benefit? Is it because it knows that there's a different energy, my energy, in its space? We might find out tonight. Alan Robson with you, Metro Radio, live from the house with quite an aggressive poltergeist. Hopefully an exorcism tonight. Now, we told you about the Sheriff Hill mob. Don't know too much about the stories. The people that were ghost hunting there, they didn't know too much about it either. And yet, they decided they were going to go out and do something. They were going to investigate. And I love that. I call people who do that self-starters. They just get the hell out and they make it happen. And I think that's fantastic. Tonight, didn't plan Scary Christmas to be in this house. To be honest, I was going to run the show in the studio, because usually that's how we do Scary Christmas. But this cropped up within the past week or so. And, well, we're taking a big, big, big chance. And also a little bit later on tonight, there is the possibility not just of you seeing a spirit or a couple of spirits. There is the possibility that you might see far more than you could ever imagine. We're going to play a sound from way back, 1920s and 30s, that is said to draw spirit from the areas around you and brings it directly to that sound. Now, are you man and woman enough to face up to whatever that brings? It's worth a try. Now, because I get sent so many clips, some of them will be on cassette tapes, some of them are in sound files, others sent to me from the Americans that I work with on the television show Scariest Places on Earth. And I've got some doozies, and I'm going to share all of them with you tonight. However, sometimes you get something that's sent to you, and this was actually on a computer disk. And, well, what is it? Who sent it? If this was sent by you, thank you very much. All it said on the computer disk was, I lost my daughter and did what you said and recorded empty rooms on my mini disc recorder. I heard her for the first time today. Thank you. She is still with me. I copied it. Bless you for what you do. When I played the computer file, everything had been wiped except one thing. And that one thing, I'm going to play for you now. There's no name. I tried reaching out to this person because there was a kind of a scribbled out email address, and I emailed as best what it was without any success at all. Now, if it's true that this lady lost her daughter and recorded an empty room, what did she get? Let's have a listen. Alan Robson, Scary Christmas. There are things out there for us all to discover. Alan Robson, Scary Christmas on Metro. Next, we go into the conservatory here. Tiny little conservatory. Things have happened in there. The worst. Did you hear that? Directly across the other side of the room. That's made my entire body tingle. Directly across the other side of the room, something. Jeepers, from the tip of my toes to the top of my head, you've got that somebody walking over your grave thing. Thank you for that. Could you do something else? Is that all you can do? I know you're there. Can you do more? My entire body is vibrating. Mixture of fear and anticipation, I suppose. I do hope you're picking these things up. I always worry about it. I'm actually going to walk over there and see what that was, because I'm about 15 feet, 20 feet away. Well, no, possibly not that. 15 feet away. Moving across. What could possibly have made that noise? Something in a cupboard? Could they have? It looks a real clean and tidy house. Probably because she knew I was coming. My heart's playing the tom-toms a bit. Because that was quite a big noise from the opposite side of the room. Now across tonight, I'm going to play you so many amazing sounds. A couple of them in medleys. But there are lots and lots of tales to tell. An exorcism to carry out. So much to do on the Night Owls programme tonight. Thank you for joining me for this. Truthfully, by the end of this evening, Scary Christmas will hopefully make you certain that there are more things out there than we can really ever comprehend. Are we supposed to know the answer to them? I don't think so. But it's a fascinating journey. Anyway, we'll be back, and I'm going into that conservatory place after this. Alan Robson live from a house with a poltergeist, and a bad one at that. Stay with us. Alan Robson with you, live on the outskirts of the city of Durham. And I told you that I was going to go into a conservatory. Now, various things have happened in here, including an ornament that flew off the side of one of the little Unity things in here. Blimey, it's cold. No heating in this conservatory. The goose pimples have just kind of erupted on my arms. There's one or two straggly plants that they look like they're not doing very well at all. There's a comfy settee that I've just sat down on, and it is comfy. I'm looking out over a very, very small sort of yard garden. There's a little squaggle of lawn covered with leaves from nearby trees from over neighbours' fences. And there's a cat just walking across the garden. Big cat at that. When you see something sizable and black moving on a night like this, you've got to kind of rationalise. And as I've always said about anything like this, I just heard a creak there in the corner of the room as well. I'm looking around. It's such a small place that you don't expect anything to happen. So now we're going to carry out a ritual, if you're game for this. Now, it's a ritual of healing, and it's to heal people who are not in the building with you right now. What we're going to carry out is something that's completely real. And if you have a friend, a member of your family, who is not too well at the present moment and you have a great love for them, this may well help them. Now, whenever we try to summon spirit or try and show you the energies that exist in your own home, a lot of people think, well, if I record what he says, then we can do it any time. Not so. Because on a night like tonight, I have gathered in various parts of Britain, particularly the north, but also a couple in the States, one in mainland Europe. I've gathered together like-minded people who are gathered in numbers tonight in one place in the north. There's 20 to 30 people together who will be channeling their energy, channeling their belief, channeling what most accept to be a healing power in the direction where we choose to send it. Now, if you join that, if you link and channel your love and your energy in a direction, it has been believed for literally thousands of years, not hundreds of years, thousands of years, that this united stream of consciousness can be drawn on. So you point it towards an aunt, a mother, a son, a daughter, whoever's ill, and this stream of healing energy will go to that person and benefit them somehow. The elders of pagan communities centuries ago didn't have the advantages of swift travel between villages and towns. Often they would be too far away to even carry out a visit. And on hearing of an illness to a loved one, instead of nipping to the local chemist and then driving up to see them and giving them the medicine or tablets, instead they would conduct rituals to channel their positive energy towards that loved one who was far away. Now, all you need for this, I don't know how many of you will have it, I'll give you a couple of minutes to go and find them. An onion. You need an onion. You need a feather, a shell, a leaf from an evergreen plant, and a smooth stone. An onion, a feather, a shell. If you're writing this down, do, because you don't have to do it immediately. You could do this tomorrow. An onion, a feather, a shell, a leaf from an evergreen plant, and a smooth stone. You write the name of the person who needs healing on the onion as boldly as possible. Big felt pen or in big letters using a biro or whatever. Write the name of the person who needs healing on the onion as boldly as you can. Plant it in a clear area of ground. Place the smooth stone to the north, the shell to the south, a leaf in the soil pointing upwards, and the feather showing the direction to the sick person's home. Place the smooth stone to the north, the shell to the south, a leaf in the soil pointing upwards, and the feather showing the direction of the sick person's home. Now the thing you have to do is completely cover all of the objects with soil, trapping the charms in position for all time. Finally, stand astride where you've done this and sprinkle salt to purify the site. Circle the earth altar with water. You sprinkle it with salt, and then you circle this earth altar with water. As you stand with your legs astride it, with your palms upward, channel all of the love that you feel for that person and send it directly to them. Place them in your mind's eye, see them, and send your love and your energy towards them. This is to give their weakened body strength to recover from whatever ails them, or to help them on their way. In communities that used channeling as a cure-all, I mean, this is for anything that happened, any pain they had, the average age life expectancy was up to 18 years longer than an average town. Now, if the makers of any drug on the market could guarantee that kind of record, they would snatch your hand off. There's a lot to be learned from the old ways, and I know there's plenty of people that will say, well, that'll never happen, and they're the people that won't try it. So try it, and let's hope that it helps. Britain's most listened to, Alan Robson's Night Owls. I'm in a conservatory, and the reason that I'm sort of hanging on here is, I must admit, when I was in the little kitchen next door a while back, I was filled with fear. And I am reluctant. Yes, I will go upstairs, but I must admit everything, the whole world seems to change when the light is gone and it's as dark as it is tonight. And if you wish to fully have the same experience that I'm having, you've got to close your eyes and let me paint pictures for you. I'm in a house with a poltergeist, and I promised you that I would tell you the story of this house, and I'm about to next. Stay with me, I could do with the company. Live from a house with a poltergeist. So far, what has happened? Noises, a door slamming behind me, and nobody shutting it. Lots of creaks and bangs. A horrendous stench. Pain in my temple. It's like a pressure kind of thing going on. Got no idea what we're going to get tonight, other than, I promise you, you will hear the voices of the dead. We've got them on tape, and they're going to be played into tonight's show, live from Metro Radio at 55 degrees north, while I'm here in Durham. Alan Robson, Metro Radio, and across the world on the web. Alan Robson with you, and it's a night of darkness, really. Moving out of the conservatory, I've picked up the thing that I've got to carry over my shoulder to allow me to broadcast to you. I'm stepping into the little room that leads across the edge of the kitchen. Kitchen's just off to my right hand side. Directly ahead of me is the hall. Through that door that made such a horrendous creak before. We got so many stories to tell, but I suppose I've put this off long enough. I should tell you about the building that I'm in and what it's all about. This is the house of schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is an unpleasant condition. Now, I've got to decide where to tell you this story. And I think I'll go into the living room. The living room, hang on, it's just along here. It's where the owner of this house brought me when she showed me round. She refused to go upstairs because things get a bit strange there. There's a little door, wooden door, that opens up and comes in here. There's a scruffy mark on it. And in here, it's just your standard, ordinary, really, living room. I mean, no disrespect to the lady for that. There's a television in the corner, one of the old-fashioned ones with a big backs on it, with that video underneath it. And there's a fire. It looks like a gas fire. stuck to the wall. Quite old-fashioned pictures on the walls. Some cards celebrating a birthday. She's left them out. And across there's the window. I'm looking out. My car on a drive at the present moment. A street like any other. No street lights that work in this area terribly well. Oh, there's one up the road that does. It's very dark. No light coming through the window to speak of. And I have a small... I'm going to sit on her 3-piece suite here in the living room. Oh, it's a comfy one too. That's nice. Now, it was early December that I received a call from this lady from her home here in the outskirts of Durham. Now, she had a problem that she'd lived with for almost 20 years. On the death of her husband, she'd moved from a big 4-bedroomed house in Sherburn to downsize to a smaller property. Now, for a while things were fine, despite the difficulty that anyone has who suffered a bereavement living with the vacuum where your partner or that person used to be. At first, in this room, things would be moved from where she'd left them. This she put down to her own depressed state. She was only in her late 40s, and she was pretty damn certain that Alzheimer's hadn't struck yet. And then everything would calm down for a period of months, and it was a simple, everyday thing. Listen. Movement, we're getting movement again. It's directly upstairs, almost like it's... As I move from room to room, it moves from room to room too, clicking above my head too. Clicking, and it can you hear that thumping? I can hear a thumping. Clicking to the left-hand side. How can something so simple transform a home into a hell? She actually responded to a television ad that she saw advertising 3-piece suites to replace the 2 chairs that she had in this living room. And on seeing her lovely new things, I presume I'm sitting on one, she decided that, well, she'd have a splurge. Had her husband been alive, he would have transformed her new little old-fashioned house. She had a bit of money tucked away, so she decided she would get her new home customised to suit the rest of her life. She brought a builder in, and he said that the 2 downstairs rooms could easily be knocked into one big room to create a lot more space. They've done that, and I must admit it's still not a huge room by any stretch of the imagination. Dining table at one end, little settee in front of a television at the others. But suitable for one person. And then, once the rooms had been knocked together, this 3-piece suite would not look quite so cramped. The little conservatory on the back of the house was put on so she could watch the birds. One door bricked up, another moved, and within 8 months, her little dream house was complete. After weeks of plaster, dust and muck, she finally cleaned everything up, moved her furniture into place, and with the smell of fresh paint, finally it was finished. Her savings had taken a bit of a hit, but, that's what it's all about. What's money for? She was happy. Her daughter was due to come and stay in December of 1986, and her room had been spruced up and looked beautiful if it wasn't for the banging. It must be the neighbours, she thought. They must be following suit and getting some work done. Mind, it did seem as if the noise was coming from her attic and moving down behind her walls and then spreading across the first floor of her building. That night, as she lay in bed, there were noises, cold breezes that seemed to almost push her aside, and that smell, the smell that I've been telling you about, since I got in here. The lady wishes me not to name her, and you'll find out why very soon. 3 days later, she woke from a troubled sleep. She felt ill. Her stomach ached, and on visiting the toilet, she was bleeding heavily from down below. Simply to urinate was agony. Following a doctor's examination, he sent her to hospital. Her stomach below the waist was black and blue, and the doctor at the hospital had asked if she had been sexually assaulted. There were what looked to be handprints on a neck that were so severe that photographs were taken. On personal examination, they suggested that a large foreign object had been pushed inside her. Her muscles and skin had been torn, internal scratch marks, and what could have been teeth marks on her thigh. The house had a burglar alarm. All of the doors and all of the windows were locked. No one could have entered this property. Even if they had, she would have woken up had anybody attacked her. What she did remember was dreaming about a man with stinking breath following her. There was a glimpse of his face inches from hers. It had been a turbulent night of the terrors that unsettled sleep can give. Painkillers were prescribed, and the recommendation that the police should be called. It was obvious that the hospital staff simply didn't believe her. They were sure that she'd been attacked, and yet she didn't want to press charges. In fairness, hospitals have met many women not prepared to send a brutish husband or boyfriend to prison. The visit from the daughter lasted overnight. She was due to stay a week, but claimed that there was someone or something in her room. Her bed had been moved from one side of the wall right across to the other while she'd slept on it. Her clothes had been tipped out of a small case. There was a stench that soaked into her hair and into her clothes, and to be honest, it's doing exactly that to me now. Mrs. T is the woman who lives here. She explained, "My daughter is a strict Catholic, as we all are, and did not believe in ghosts. All were completely skeptical until this began. She came into my room just before 6 o'clock in the morning. Her face was white and she was shaking. She had seen the shape of a man move across the window, and it had stopped to stand over her. She'd cried out. She tried to get out of her bed, yet the side she had got in was now up against the wall. Her only way out was to go through that figure that stood over her. At first she was too frightened. Then she screamed, and in a blind panic had gone through the black shape. She told me that in that split second when the figure seemed to go through her, she had felt immense anger, yet fear at the same time. She fell over a case, bashed her head on the door, raced in to see me. Even now it sounds stupid, but she's never been back to this house since. When I want to see her, I have to go to her house in Hortonless Spring. I'll meet her in Durham for a coffee. You have no idea how horrid my life is living with him." Now, over the years, the noises grew in volume and intensity. Mrs. T's hair changed from brown to white. She knew there was something, someone in this house. Now I'm hearing creaks. There's another one. And you say, okay, 95% of this is a house settling, or it's can it be heat, because this place is really cold. There's kind of a noise. almost like wind moving around inside their house. As you know, I took not just my shoes but my socks off when I came in here, even though it's cold. I've got a short-sleeved top on, because if you bare more of your body, you can feel more clearly if things are moving around you, directly above my head, creaking, like footsteps in that case. There's more, listen. Long creaks and bangs upstairs. So, with a unplanned hair colour change, the property was put on the market, but there were no takers. The house felt odd. Any potential buyer felt the feeling of this place. You can't miss it. The stench of this house. No amount of aerosol sprays are going to get rid of that. And on a number of occasions, there were incidents. One little child belonging to a family that wanted to buy a new house came here and was pushed downstairs, needing an ambulance for his broken leg. A picture flew off a wall upstairs and cut the back of a man's head as he accompanied a surveyor friend to do a final check on the property. The final straw was when one family arrived for a look around, and as she opened the door, a force from within this house slammed the front door on the man as he tried to enter. We've already had a door slam here tonight. Mrs. T tried to open the door again, as you would. She was desperate to sell. She would have accepted, frankly, any offer at all. She wanted to apologise, but much as she tried, she couldn't unjam the lock. It seemed that he wanted to keep her in this house. In 1994, she had the house blessed after her friends heard me telling someone on the Night Owls what to do to cleanse her house. Blessings usually work, but in this case it hadn't. In fact, 3 days later, she was awoken at 4 a.m. when all of the drawers in her kitchen just shot out, showering the floor with knives and cutlery, forks, spoons, old takeaway menus, and all the tat that you keep in your kitchen drawers. It was such a loud crash that it roused neighbours on both sides. They raced around, believing it to be something like a gas explosion. She'd lost quite a few neighbours after they heard the stories. And then her friends, following my lead again, she called to her church to organise a full exorcism. It took almost 3 months of continuous disturbances before that exorcist arrived. He asked her to move in with her daughter for a few days while he confronted the energy that shared her space. He obviously had more than a little trouble. He was there for over 48 hours. When Mrs. T returned, ornaments were broken. The priest had a bruise on his brow and looked worn out, but declared that his work was done and the house was clear. Didn't stay clear. Find out what happened live from that house. The house with a schizophrenic poltergeist. Alan Robson live from the outskirts of Durham. Now, I'm fortunate enough to be able to hear everything that's being played from the studio, and yet when anything is being played, whether it's adverts or whether it's music, I turn my headphones down and just listen. And that's what you should do. You know, the trick, if there is one, to capturing things is to just sit and listen. I'm on this tiny 3-piece suite. It is a small one. It's very comfortable in a house that Mrs. T had made her home. You've just heard how she had it exorcised, and for 10 years this house was wonderful to live in. The atmosphere had totally lifted to such a degree that Mrs. T chose to stay in the house, despite the horror done to her here. Then, on the 25th of June this year, that unwelcome visitor returned. That morning, as soon as she opened her eyes, she knew he was back. The stench of cabbage breath was in her face again. She was pinned to the bed. She tried to pull back her sheets, but her hands were pinned. Her chest was tight, and there, in front of her, was a dark figure staring at her. His arms were jamming the sheets tight against her throat. She coughed, she spluttered, she screamed, and then as swiftly as it had begun, it was over. During that day, she felt several blows to her body, as if a finger had been jabbed into her. As she lay in the bath that night, she looked down at her body, looking spotted with bruises, almost leopard-like. She asked for another exorcism, but a blessing was recommended. The blessing was a disaster. A young vicar was driven from their house. That was in September. In late November, I was made aware of the situation. I'm aware of about 6 or 7 situations around the north. A couple I'm acting on, a couple standard exorcism procedures are being invoked. When I first visited this house, and I've been here twice before, I knew at once this was the real McCoy. An energy or an entity so confident and imposing, it didn't care that I knew it was there. Mrs. T had been staying with friends on and off. She's been staying with them now for 2 weeks. They are good friends, but they would like their home back for Christmas. It was them who contacted me and begged me to get involved. I spoke with the original exorcist and was told this is a physical entity that likes to frighten. That is a certain fact. Within seconds of me being in the empty house, things moved. A book flew off a shelf. Doors opened and slammed shut. We've had that tonight. Something unseen pushed me against a wall. All the while, a horrible, cabbagey stink. It hangs in the air like decayed flesh. It's horrible. Unlike my predecessor, I've since done a little research on this property. The house had been owned by an old woman and her son, who was a paranoid schizophrenic. His name was Paul, and he refused to let his mother have any visitors. If anyone called him for having violent outbursts, he would drive them away. His mother was kept captive here until her death. She died upstairs in the bedroom where Mrs. T was attacked. Paul was then allowed to take over the house, and he'd been a nightmare to the entire street. He'd damaged cars, sworn at people. He'd been the worst type of neighbour. Then 18 months before Mrs. T had bought the house, he slit his own wrists in the bed where she was attacked. He'd been taken to hospital after being found bleeding in the streets of Durham on a Saturday night. He was stitched up and allowed home after he told the nurse he had fallen whilst drunk. Had he admitted it was an attempted suicide, he could have been sectioned. Neighbours saw the for sale signs go up after a relative was notified that Paul's mother had left the house to them, not to him. Paul packed a bag and moved out. His mother had betrayed him from beyond the grave. And the last thing he said to anyone, his only friend Gary worked in the shop that's just at the end of the road, I'm going to find that bitch of a mother and fix her once and for all. His mate Gary kind of shook his head and said, his mother's dead. Paul just smiled at him. Gary was certain he intended to kill himself, and Paul was never seen alive again. Now, whilst being deterred at every step, the house was exorcised in every room, every cupboard, every space, including the back garden, using ceremony from the old ways, long before faith was divided and fragmented into Christian, Muslim, Hindu, etc. Now, I've carried out the first part of that exorcism. I did it this afternoon. It must be concluded. The reason that I've left it in 2 parts is because I'm going to incant spirit here so that you can see spirit in your own home. So therefore, you can't destroy it when you're actively going to be asking it to happen. So make sure you have a mirror ready. Make sure you have a candle and something to light that candle. Make sure you're in a dark room. I'm going to show you spirit in your own home tonight. Alan Robson, exclusively for Metro Radio and across the world on the web. Alan Robson with you live from a house with a poltergeist. I'm standing now at the bottom of the stairs. I'm going to be taking the leap of faith and actually going up these tonight. But first of all, you seek proof. You seek validation. You want to know that there are things out there that are... Listen, listen, listen. Jeepers. As soon as I say that you want validation, suddenly all kinds of noises start to emanate from upstairs. I'm going up there next. The hair on the back of my neck is absolutely dancing. I can hear so much noise. But if you want validation, I'm going to play you a little medley. Now, I must admit, this is not... I'm not doing this live from this house. We had so many little tiny clips. I had to be in the studio to put this thing together for you. Now, I've done it in 2 parts. It's a medley of a dozen or so voices from beyond the grave. How can you not know there is more after hearing this type of thing? Anyway, make your own mind up. Voices beyond the grave, and then I'm going upstairs to face whatever's there. Mrs. T's always said that she believed that Paul, or whatever this entity is, the thing that pursued her, spent its time upstairs and in the attic. And I'm hoping not to need to go there. Perhaps for the exorcism, the best place to do it. I've just seen a black shaped... Oh, cheap. I've just seen a black shadow move directly across the top of the stairs at speed from one side to the other, and I saw that clearly. Is that you, Paul? Is that you, Paul? Paul? Mean you no harm. Coming to spend a bit of time with you, Paul. If you're there, can you make yourself heard? I know you're there. Are you there? Don't just do a creak. Let me see you. Oh, hello. Don't just creak. Come on, I saw your shape. I saw your shadow. I know you're there. Oh, scraping noise upstairs. Come on, then. It's all right to bully a woman, isn't it? Silence. Oh, not quite silence. Right, now before I go upstairs, I'm going to kind of gather myself, but I want you to hear The Voices of the Dead, Part 1. If you could play that, Matt, I'm going to get myself together. and we're going up to where Paul is. Alan Robson live from that Poltergeist house. Listen to this lot. Now, the centrepiece of tonight's Scary Christmas is to allow you to hear the voices of the dead. You're going to be able to hear an awful lot of things tonight. But in this sequence, I have gathered so many individual voices. Now, you could listen to a minute and a half for the sake of a 6-second clip. I would rather just play you the 6 seconds. Have a listen to this. If you listen very carefully, you will hear somebody say, "Here I be." Messages like this are received quite often at very high or very low frequency, and sometimes people don't hear them until they replay back something that they've recorded. Have a listen to this, where it actually tells you the date someone dies. It's August 1956. Have a listen again. Now, across the Great Divide, we regularly hear messages directed at individuals. This is not just sound that we galvanize together to suit what we want it to. In this case, it is a woman saying that Caleb loved me.
Does anybody want to talk to us? That's not for me.
The voice was recognized as being a distant relative, a grandparent, in fact. A grandmother who married a man called Caleb, and you can clearly hear her say, "Caleb loved me."
That's not for me.
If you ever lost anybody, you would want to know that their love on the other side was as strong. This proves that to be the case.
That's not for me.
When a child dies, sometimes they do not begin again immediately. Sometimes it takes a while. And out there in the darkness, when they've crossed over, they can be very scared indeed. Recorded in a room where a child had died 2 months earlier, and regularly they'd heard strange voices, including this. It's quite often, too, that you will go into a dark place, and if you open yourself up, they will speak to you and tell you what they want you to do. Come out the door. There's nothing more tragic than the loss of a child.
That was a baby. It died when it was 1 day old.
That was recorded in a cemetery, and the people who recorded it didn't think they'd captured anything until they played it back and heard this.
That was a baby. It died when it was 1 day old.
Yet as they were standing there in the cemetery, they clearly had picked up a baby's cry. Occasionally, those on the other side can be irritated in the same way we are in life. A voice captured from beyond the grave, using the F word, F me. One of the more vivid comes actually from the Fox family, the television network that I operate with in the United States. And before we would ever visit any place, what is standard procedure is, we will hear stories that a place is active, we will go across and we'll put cameras in there, remote control cameras, so that if anything moves, the camera starts recording. If we get movement, and we know for a fact there's nobody in that place, we'll then send a couple of researchers to spend the night. On doing that, these researchers didn't get a single thing. Nothing happened for the entire 24 hours. And just as the researchers were leaving the building, one of them turned around and said, "Goodbye." Now, there was no reason for her to say goodbye. She hadn't experienced anything within that house. So we rewound the tape, we checked the video footage, and then we played back the recording. And you'll be amazed at what we found.
Bye.
The second voice you hear is the voice of one of our researchers saying goodbye. She's responding to the voice of the dead. A spirit clearly saying goodbye just before she does. You can't miss it.
Bye.
Now, for those people who say that this doesn't exist, that's most convenient. But it doesn't change the fact that there are millions of recordings like this, recorded every year. Some say goodbye, others say hello. Once again, a clear response. Now, when you're searching for something otherworldly, and I've travelled the length and breadth of the world, checking out and trying to find things that at once I thought were purely imagined. And I quite understand a great many people who haven't experienced anything themselves still choosing to remain in denial. But occasionally, if you're lucky, you find spirit that actually enjoy your attention. This one says, I like you, I'm here. Caught in a tumult of electronic noise, a clear sign from the other side. I like you, I'm here. Now, if you are scared of such things, the one thing you don't want when you say, is there anybody there, is somebody to say, I'm coming. This was captured on a tape about 8 hours before the house and all of the furniture in it was tipped upside down. And imagine you're in a dark place with your recording device and you're looking around and you're not seeing anything, but they decide to talk to you and say, I'm over here.
So you can pick up the reading that side, though. Nothing?
You can hear the researcher say, nothing? Because he doesn't hear clearly. Immediately after he asks whether he's picking anything up, you can clearly hear on the recording, I'm over here.
So you can pick up the reading that side, though. Nothing?
And we've got an awful lot more voices of the dead for you tonight. Alan Robson, live from a very dark place, where we are once again making radio the like of which no one has ever done. Live from a house on the outskirts of Durham with a special guest Poltergeist. Well, I thought, do you know, I didn't even enjoy hearing them because of where I am. I'm at the bottom of a long flight of stairs. Just minutes earlier, I saw clearly a dark shape move from one side of the top of the stairs to the other. I'm now heading upstairs. That wasn't me, I'm stopped. Oh, hello. It's all right, Paul. Oh. Hello, Paul, it's just me. No need to be frightened. I'm at the top of the stairs. 1, 2, 3 doors. One in front of me, one to my right hand side. The landing coins round, and the bedroom where the main assault happened is just up here. And looking. Oh, jeepers. That's horrendous. Once when I was little, I smelt that. There was a woman who lived at the top of our street. I think her name was Olive Vasey, Mrs. Vasey, and she used to watch all the kids out of the upstairs window, and she hadn't been seen for a few days, and a local policeman saw that her window was open and asked us to shin up a drain pipe and get in. And when I got in there, she was lying dead on the floor. She'd been there for a while. There was a lot of her juices had kind of let loose. Listen, there's kind of like a high-pitched thing going on. It's this, listen. Can you hear that? You must be able to hear that. And I always think, is that the reason why we don't make out spirit? Because it sends its vocalization or its sound at a higher level. This is the bed where she was assaulted. It's the bed where he, or the bedroom at least, where he slit his wrists before going down to Durham to be found bleeding. This is the room where he pinned her. Before the end of tonight, I'm going to lie in this bed. I'm just kind of like a scouting mission, because I want to find out whether this is really as bad as people say. I'm going out of the room now. I'm just closing the door. Did you hear that? Come back in. That was actually in the other. It's really. Oh, hang on, there's something. There's a book on the floor. I don't believe that. It's a book by an author, I presume it's a woman, called Tammy Hogue, and the book's called Ashes to Ashes. Oh, Jeebus. There's a few books around here. Was that appropriate or what? Alan Robson with you, and tonight we're going to give you the opportunity to see spirit in your own home. If you've just joined us, I'm at a house on the outskirts of Durham, and this is a place where an awful lot of bad things happened. Essentially, a young man kept his own mother almost hostage here. And there was a lot of bad feeling. He suffered from paranoid schizophrenia. And since he left the house, disappeared, died, this place has kind of housed a darkness about it. After an exorcism had worked for 10 years, whatever it was that savagely attacked the lady who lives here, Mrs. T, hospitalised her on 2 separate occasions. She doesn't want to go through that again, and I don't think anybody can really blame her. So that's why I'm here. She's presently staying at a friend's house, and she needs to be out of there. The friends love her very much, but their family's coming to stay over Christmas, ideally. And as the clergy exorcist says that they can't attend because they're so busy until about March time next year. They've asked me to come along, and I must admit, having visited their house 2 afternoons earlier this week, preparing things, there are certain things you have to do, and the way that I exorcise places, and I know a lot of people have this weird mystique about exorcism. Let me just swiftly tell you how it works. In many, many cases, it's purely and simply I'm working with the energy of the person or the people who live in the property, because their own energy can kick things off. In 95% of the times, you're working with the people as much as you are with the property. In this particular case, there's something here. I think we've already established that there's something here. We've got all kinds of creakings and groans and footsteps and dark shapes. Earlier in the week, I did come across something that was perhaps a little bit more tangible. I physically saw a curtain move and a kind of a shape beside it. That was Tuesday afternoon. Everything changes at night when it's this dark, when it's this black. And if you want to experience what I'm experiencing, what I think you should do is close your eyes and follow along with me tonight. Now, if you have any experiences this evening, I want you to ring in. I don't want you to ring in tonight, though. On Sunday, we're going to have Scary Christmas debrief, as well as a standard night owl program. But if you would like to call in and tell me if you get anything, I would love you to do that. Call in, let me know if you see anything, if you experience anything, if anything comes to you. The reason being, and this is where it kind of gets just a tad dangerous, while I'm in a place like this, I've decided that we will seek spirit. We're going to seek spirit. We're going to try and show you what so many of you would actually like to have. There's a thing that I decided we would do, which is called a looking glass invocation. Now, we're going to be dealing with mirrors on two separate occasions. So I want you to get next to two separate mirrors. Now, we're going to do that now. There are certain things that it would be ideal for you to have. Now, if you don't have any of the things that we ask for here, any other night might not work for you. And the reason I say that is we have our friends in various parts of the north and various parts of the world. Oh, hello. Did you hear that? And, jeebus. Big heavy crunch directly behind me, almost as if there was somebody there. I felt that right on the corner of my shoulders. And just give me a second. Do you know, I was told by the original exorcist who cleansed this place, whatever's here seems to know just how to push your buttons, and that was really close. The feeling is almost somebody breathing on the back of your neck and then a huge thump directly behind you. But now, no matter what noises we hear, no matter what happens, and if that's you, Paul, no matter what happens here, we're going to do this. I'm going to invocate for you. Now, an awful lot of you have lost friends and family. At a time coming up to Christmas, it's a time when you would love to perhaps make some kind of contact with a relative. And what I want you to do is go and get a photograph of that relative now. If you've got one in your house, someone who's passed over to the other side, I want you to go and get their photograph now, if you have the courage to try and feel closer to that person. Someone that you love, someone that you're going to miss this Christmas. Someone whose energy you can remember. It's still tangible to you. You can remember their face and every crease on it. You can remember stupid things that they used to do when they were in your company. I want you to get a photograph. And what I want you to do now, and try and take the radio with you or turn the radio up so you can hear it in other parts of the house. I want you to go to a mirror where you can sit down in front of it. Now, I want this to be a different mirror to the one that you use later on when we try and get you to experience spirit in your own home. It could happen here. You could see spirit. It's very common. But this looking glass invocation is really quite something. It goes back a lot of years, and this has worked on many, many occasions. The ideal mirror, in my experience with this, it's kind of like a dressing table mirror. And this should be, again, ideally in a bedroom where you've got a little chair in front of a dressing table mirror. I want you to get a photograph of that person. And I want you to put a candle next to it so that you can see the photograph and you can see the mirror. Now, I want you to turn the photograph upside down, because I want you to be able to see the photograph the right way up in its reflection in the mirror. So you turn the photograph upside down and you push it right up to the edge of the mirror so that, rather like an L shape, the photograph, the actual picture of that beloved person, that special individual, whether it was a child, whether it was a parent, maybe it was a husband or a wife or boyfriend or a girlfriend. And I want you to place that photograph tightly there. I want you to turn all other lights off, so you should have a candle and you should have the photograph upside down pushed against the glass. I want no other noise in the house. If there's a TV on downstairs, if there's radio on, other than this, anywhere in the house, obviously shouldn't be, I want you to make sure you knock off any electrical items that are likely to make noise, any stereo players, anything at all, turn them off, so that you know that anything that you hear will be connected with this invocation. So this is how it should be. Ideally, you should be at a dressing table. There should be a candle there. I don't want you to look into the mirror. I want you to stare at the reflection of the photograph that is in the mirror. Many people believe that mirrors show not just what we can see, but what else is there too. And on many, many occasions, we've had amazing responses when we're dealing with a looking glass. And let's hope, if that is what you seek tonight, let's hope that we can make that happen for you. It's the first time I've ever done anything like this in a house where I know there's already an energy that essentially doesn't want me here, wants Mrs. T back in here, so that it can keep her hostage in the same way that he did with his own mother. But no matter what noises are heard, no matter what you get in the background here, just concentrate on my voice and do everything exactly the way that I tell you. You should be staring at that photograph now. Arali Sila Ziga. To make contact with someone who's passed over, or merely seek to feel much closer. Remember the photograph of the person in front of a mirror. Make sure it looks upside down to you, but the reflection in that looking glass makes it seem as if the mirror has swallowed the picture, as it displays it as it should be seen, the right way up. Stare at that image. Make sure that your telephones, your mobile phones are switched off. Make sure there are no distractions to a ceremony that dates back to the 1700s. Back then, miniature portraits were used for this purpose. Firstly, I need you to look into the photograph. Focus in not just on what that person looks like there. Focus in on the essence of that special person and what made them special. I want you, as you stare at that photograph, I want you to remember the time that you shared together, what made you both laugh together, and why your love was so strong with them. Stare into the photograph and feel them with you. The fact that you still hold them in your heart is proof that they didn't die. They live on through you. It's said that this ceremony will bring you a sign within 24 hours that will be clear and easily understood. Apparitions have been known to appear, the disruption of households. Be aware of this. You may get some response within seconds. It doesn't have to be within hours. Be aware of this. Although it may only last for a single day, be sure you want this. If you have any reservation at all, do not take part. The room should be dim, with a candle at the side, allowing much of your room to be in shadow. Take great care to make sure that it cannot set fire to anything whilst it's temporarily out of your view. It should be just at the side while you stare at that photograph. The photograph may look dark in the gloomy reflection to symbolize the obscure other side of the Great Divide. Stare at that photograph, at the face of that person who you love so much. Hear their voice speaking gently to you. And without speaking yourself, let your heart tell them how much you love and miss them. All this is done without actually saying a word. In your mind's eye, focus on that special soul and send your energy towards it, because your energy can make things happen too, as can theirs. Send your energy towards it and a reaction will occur. You will feel that person with you. You'll smell them. You'll sense them. And many of you will see them. So get ready. You're now concentrating and focusing on that special individual. And now, with your eyes directed slightly higher into the mirror, I want you to close your eyes and repeat after me. Close your eyes and keep them closed tight. Home of shadows, say it. Home of shadows. Home of eternal night. Let the dust of years past be gone in the blink of an eye. For we too are now one again. Close your eyes tightly, using all of the muscles in your face to seal them shut. Place your arms out to either side and hold your palms upwards. Many of you will feel a chill climb your body all the way up to the top of your head, and you will feel an incredible tingle as spirit, their spirit, passes through you. Feel the emotions and the love merge with your own spirit. Some of you may be frightened. Some of you may be desperate to open your eyes, but let it happen. Do not open your eyes. Picture that face in the photograph, the person with whom you're now psychically linked. And let your mind tell them all that you seek to communicate. Your head may briefly ache, but that headache will pass quickly. It's merely a sign that you're using a part of your mind that you're not used to accessing. Some of you may have felt movement across your palms, perhaps odd noises. Let none of this frighten you, for this is what you wanted. It's what you sought. Stay in that position as long as you need to send and receive. Now, this is very important. When I tell you to open your eyes, it's quite likely that you'll be able to see other energies around your home for a brief moment before the link dissipates. It will only be a glimpse, for energies around us all the time. Fleeting shadows will soon disappear, but be ready for this and expect there to be some movement. If you don't wish to see, look up to the ceiling. Keep your eyes looking up. Then finally, as I recite the closing, tighten your eyes even more. And when I finish, you say, Amen. Only open your eyes when you do. And although your room is in semi-darkness, some of you will see a very brief, bright, white flash. This is also normal. Let it not concern you. Zabin, Nazeza, Sentaba, Koterai, Komeom. Amen. Open your eyes. You're with Alan Robson. I hope you managed to get them to reach you instantly. If not, this will work within 24 hours. Look for signs. And then this Sunday, call me if you get them. I think you will. This is Alan Robson, live from a house with the energy of a very different kind, from the outskirts of Durham. Metro Radio and across the world on the web. Alan Robson with you, Metro Radio and across the world on the web. Oh, shoot. Now, literally 2 seconds ago, well, probably 10 seconds ago, there was a major, major noise, and I'm absolutely I'm absolutely positive positive it came from this room. Can you hear anything? Can you hear kind of like a rattling noise? It's coming from this corner. Now, there's nothing in here that can possibly move. All the windows are closed. Listen. I just came running. You always run towards the noise. I know everything inside you tells you that you should actually head in the opposite direction, but always run towards the noise, because you're never quite sure what's going to happen. I heard another noise, a brief noise there, and then when you get to the place where the noise is, you stand perfectly still, because it's then that you will get the opportunity to see something or hear something. And I'm here to see something, to hear something. It's exactly what we would like to see happen. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hello. Yes, it was exactly what I wanted to see happen, and then when it does happen, I find myself actually just outside in the hall. Problem is, in the dark now, everything inside me wants me also to put the light on here, because that would work. What was that? The room is very well put together. There's nothing that... Oh, I heard a noise there as well. There's nothing that looks obvious that's moved there, that could be physically moved about. Oh, hang on a second, hang on. Could be this. On the floor, just in the corner, is a small metal circular Disney thing. It's a tin box with Winnie the Pooh on the front. Must belong to Mrs. T. It was on the floor, I'm sure it shouldn't actually be on the floor. I'm going to put it on this unit at the side. That could be the only thing that moved. Now, if it actually was on a unit, there's nothing at that side of the room you could rest anything that's remotely ornamental on. And if that... I heard something go, I didn't see it, but if that actually flew, that moved about 12, 15, 20 feet. Now that's just me moving around in the dark. There's a few bags, carrier bags and stuff here just inside the door. Gonna leave that to one side, because I think it's time now that I shared with you one of the sounds of the dead again. I think you would benefit from that. In fact, this one is quite an amazing story. It is the legend of the fire cat. And again, this one was actually based here in the city of Durham. Not that I am technically in the city of Durham, just outside on the outskirts. In the city of Durham in 1877, there was a family called Robertson who had moved down from Scotland to set up a cobbler's shop. They were there for about 8 months. Disaster struck. While they were asleep, a fire broke out in the shop, caused by embers that had kind of spat out of the open grate onto a straw matting floor that they used to have. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Robertson were both in bed, fast asleep, and their twin daughters were in the room next to them. The smoke began to climb up the rickety wooden stairs as the inferno began to take hold. I'm being toyed with at the present moment. To my right-hand side, there is a wooden 4 drawer, little mini chest of drawers, and they've got little ring pulls that hang down, and one of them just started moving there. Now, if I moved it, that's me doing it, and there are 8 of these, 2 each drawer, just one of them. Now I'm going to stop it moving because it's moving. there, it's dead. It's completely still. No, it isn't. And now it starts to move again. Now, is that my energy? I'm just going to put my hand next to the other ones. No, they're not moving, but that one's still, it's still kind of, it's just going to stop it again. No, it's still moving. Oh, can I just face the other way? That will freak me out. It's the little simple things that you just realise that you don't have whatever it takes to actually stop moving. No, and it did stop moving, thank you. Right, so there's a fire in the Robertson household. The straw matting's gone up. Within minutes, the entire family would have died due to smoke inhalation. Yet suddenly, the Robertsons felt something climbing across their heads. And it was their cat. A black fierce thing normally, but here it was, waking them up from a sleep that would have meant certain death to them. The couple raced into their children's room to rescue them, and on trying to escape, they found that the stairwell was totally aflame. There was no way they could get down. So instead, they climbed out of a window and jumped a dozen feet down to the ground. The children were dropped into the arms of neighbours who'd gathered around with buckets, not so much to save that house, but to save the flames catching hold on their house next door. No sooner had the family got out, they looked up at the bedroom window. And there, trapped in the window, was their beloved cat, trapped by the fire and clawing desperately at the window. It was mewing in panic. Unable to do anything, they watched as the fire reached him, the little cat, and set the cat alight. And the weirdest thing, there was a strange calm to it. As soon as that cat began to burn, it appeared as if it merely settled down, accepting the inevitable, and it went to sleep on the window's edge. In 1992, an American television company contracted to the Fox network made a documentary about strange animal legends, and they visited Durham. Whilst telling the tale, they placed recording devices in the room where this had happened. It's now actually the upstairs from a modern shop. And they just let that tape roll across the night. When they came back, they had caught something so fantastic even they did not believe it. If you listen carefully, you can hear flames, and amongst the roar and hiss of a fire, there was the distinctive sound of a cat. And it seems that the tragedy of Durham's fire cat is an event replayed regularly above the ordinary store on the outskirts of Durham City. Now, from that actual recording, they sent me a copy on DAT tape that hopefully Matt should have and should be playing in round about now. The Fire Cat. Isn't that amazing? How incredible is that? And we've got an awful lot more waiting for you. Now, do you have a troublesome neighbour? I might be able to sort that out for you. Next, Alan Robson, Metro Radio and across the world on the web. Now, at the present moment, I am upstairs. I'm sitting on the landing. I have a very, very small kind of pencil torch with me that I'm trying my best not to touch nor use. I think it's time that we should play the second of our medleys of the voices of the dead. Now, these amazing things have been recorded all over the world. Because there were so many, I couldn't do them live without having like pages and pages and pages of copious notes about where they were, what they were, who said what. This is the second of the only two recorded bits from tonight's show, and it's the voices of the dead too. Listen very carefully. You are about to hear the dead. My second sequence dealing with the voices of the dead. Imagine a woman on the other side missing the child she had to leave behind.
It was just sheetrock over the walls. They just covered it up. But they just put the closet around the other door, so they couldn't open because there was a wall behind it.
Well, you may have missed right at the very beginning. You hear a whispered voice saying, "I'm a dead mother."
It was just sheetrock over the walls.
And on other occasions, spirit, not quite finding their way, saying, "I'm lost. Hello."
Tracy's things are not there, so... Hello.
First you hear a whispered, "I'm lost." And then you hear the voice of a young child saying, "Hello."
Tracy's things are not there, so... Hello.
Now, for hundreds of years, people have asked the question about imaginary friends. Are they really purely imagined? Or is there something out there? Is it the spirit of another child toying with a living youngster? Listen to this. A recording made by a child of her imaginary friend. Now, late at night, the one thing you don't want to hear is someone you can't see laughing. And are they laughing at you? And there is all too many entities that are existing in a place and they don't want to go. And they will tell you to leave them alone.
I need to know how you died. I want to know if I'm right. It's right in this room.
You can hear the ghost hunters laughing and joking about this because many people find themselves in this world and out of their depth. It clearly wishes to be left alone.
I need to know how you died. I want to know if I'm right. It's right in this room.
In America, in the armed forces, there was a ghost hunt carried out, and they managed to contact the spirit of someone who was belonging to the Marine Corps.
Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant.
He says he's a sergeant in the Marine Corps.
Marine Corps. Staff Sergeant.
Sometimes you get messages that you can tell are messages, but they seem to have no main significance. Yet this comes from the Queen Mary, where a voice says, "Find me." Now, a regular listener in his wheels of steel, Bodie Gibbs from Ohio, has visited the Queen Mary. We've got photographs from that ship on our website. And here, a voice within says, "Find me." Now, for those of you who doubt that there is life on the other side, here is a dream come true for a man called Richard. He was trying to reach a wife who had died, yet she reached him. It was her distinctive voice saying, "Richard, is that you?" And on other occasions, someone on the other side is trying to make contact with a member of their family, and they find someone like me instead.
where you hear a sigh and then they shout no. And once again, if an entity doesn't want you to be part of its world, it will tell you to turn off your recording device. On 2 separate occasions, turn it off, and then a more angry, turn it off. And occasionally, a spirit will even try and guess your name. What's your name? Arthur.
Anyone here? What's your name?
Listen very carefully towards the end of this, where the researcher seeks a name and gets one.
Anyone here? What's your name?
Life and death is complicated. There is no black, there's no white. We all live in the grey, as you've just heard the voices of the dead.
Very soon this evening, I'm going to give you the chance to see spirit. Each and every one of you in your own home. Do you have the strength to make that happen? But if you live anywhere near Whitley Bay, particularly if you're one of the kind of people who can walk along the beach late at night, it's surprising what you can see, including figures of the dead. I'm going to tell you that tale next. Alan Robson, Scary Christmas. Can you hear this? You've just come to me while there is a strange kind of swirling noise. I don't know what it is, but I can hear absolutely. Listen. Can you hear that? There's a strange kind of weird rustling noise. I felt a kind of a blast of cold air that's moved past me. It's very, very, very vivid. And listen, I'm hearing thumps and bangs and kind of strange sounds from the attic above my head. Now, when I prepared this place for exorcism, there's certain things you've got to put about. Various liquids and various bits and pieces that have to be placed in certain places. And the one place that I haven't put anything is the attic. And yet I'm getting a bit of racket from up there. I'm going to have to go up at some point, which I didn't kind of bargain for. But I did say that there are 2 areas that I'm going to work on tonight with you. And if I can ask for no interruptions and no involvement from anyone else, if you don't mind. Since the dawn of time, they've been bad neighbours, and dealing with their noise, their bad behaviour and their disrespect is a problem for everybody. Now, in days long ago, a number of things were done to solve that kind of unpleasantness. The wisest elders would use meditation. They would sit down and meditate. And it's something you can learn. I think it's actually quite a hard thing to learn, but you can learn it. And what you do, you sit cross-legged, you close your eyes, and you surround yourself in a blue, calming light. And that's supposed to deflect any of the negativity caused from a neighbouring wall. Understanding that noise is merely sound, so is bird song, the whisper of the trees, the rippling of a brook trickling down through pebbles. In the same way that people who live on airline flight paths can shut out that sound, it's also possible for people with a strong spirit to place themselves in a similar mindset. Now, for neighbours who swear, shout, and show aggressiveness towards you, the oldest technique against that also involves small mirrors. Their negative energy can disrupt the harmony of your home, so must be addressed. And how you do that? You place as many small mirrors as you can gather, and you face them towards those who would seek to create misery and unhappiness. It's said that their negativity and upset will be reflected back to them. If you do this without showing any aggressiveness or anger towards them, after a few months, things will calm down. Your neighbours will not even realise why they have stopped causing you problems. And it's from that ancient adage that goes back almost 1,000 years before the birth of Christ that you can perhaps solve a problem, a regular problem. Back then, they used to use shiny crystals, polished surfaces to reflect an image, long before those sophisticated mirrors came out. And depression is not just a modern creation. 'Twas long ago known as a touch of the melancholy. Even then it was a serious problem, deserving of a cure. Now, if you're wondering how the pagans dealt with that, they're our ancestors. Good people that were universally attacked and destroyed by all those who had a different idea of faith after they'd lived in peace for 3,000 years before the birth of Christ. The pagans always believed in seeking a positive way to improve their demeanour. Firstly, they would seek to surround themselves with people of light spirit who could make them smile and shake them out of their misery. Now that works today. They would play music with heavy rhythmic and repetitive drum beats and shake them out of their misery, transport them to a place of happiness. And this is exactly what happens when people experience that kind of elation that you get in trance clubs, rock fans maybe from the mosh pit, an established technique in hundreds of faiths to exorcise negativity and create a feeling of heightened positive feeling. You wave your arms, you leap up and down until the demon depressing you is shaken free and you feel exhilarated. If your health doesn't allow you to just play the loudest music and you shout and you swear and you move around, shadow directly over my shoulders just made it kind of, there's a little bit of light coming out of a lamp at the back of the house, and something's just walked past it and broken the beam, if you know what I mean. And that was inside, because I'm upstairs at the moment, unless there's a few 25 feet people walking around. So essentially the easy way to do this, to break that whole catch-22 of, well, I feel miserable, I don't want to do anything, get up, play some music, wave your arms, shake around, dance around. I know it might seem the most ridiculous thing in the world, and yet at the end of it, it's an antidote, an ancient cure to get rid of the melancholy. There's another thing, because frankly not everybody's going to be healthy enough to freak out to some music. Peel an onion and take its tiny core, you know, the very, very middle bit, that centre piece of the onion, that symbolises your ailing essence. Alternatively, you could peel a few cloves of garlic and you place them in a dish next to your bed, and you put in 3 spoons of vinegar so that the base of either the central part of the onion or the cloves is covered with the vinegar. Just the base, not the top. The onion or the garlic will absorb all of your negative energy as you sleep, and when you wake up in the morning, you will feel better. Some say that if you still feel down, mothers would force their children to drink the mixture, giving them another pretty good reason to feel a lot happier. If you use the garlic, the cloves will turn pink if it has swallowed your negativity. And I hope that works for you too. I have another story that I feel that I should tell, and this is amazing. And this is truly, truly amazing, because this is something that's happened within the year. Can you imagine how amazing it would be to capture a ghost on camera? I'm sitting next to that 3-thingy cabinet, and a drawer's just ever so slightly, like a quarter of an inch just moved in. There's another noise. There's a sweeping noise to my left-hand side, as if something's just moving away from me. As far away as possible would be good. Don't know whether you can hear, but we're getting kind of like almost like a dragging sound that's just approximate. I'm going to point, I don't know whether I'll pick it up, but I'm going to point this microphone at them, and you should catch it live, hopefully. Are you getting that? There's stuff going on up here, and 2 things I'm going to do that's really going to kind of stir stuff. And again, when you come to a place like this, you don't expect anything to happen. You can't dial, there's another sound there, you can't dial a ghost up and say, can I book you for 4 hours? I'm here to carry out a very straightforward ceremony. And truthfully, if I was coming here to carry out an exorcism, it would have been done by now. But this lady, bless her, has given me permission to turn this into radio. And I normally don't mix the 2 things up, because it is a serious thing. But anyway, back to this. And so I'm just looking at this cabinet now, and I'm kind of almost, you get to the point where you expect something to happen. But that drawer clearly went in about a quarter of an inch, and it's 8 inches away from me. I'm sitting on the floor at the top of some stairs. There's a glint of light behind me. That's why I'm here. As light does give you a degree of reassurance. But capturing stuff on cameras, as you know, the websites we've been trying desperately to reinstall onto our new website, it's taking, frankly, far longer than it should, but it's being sorted little by little. We've got a lot of amazing things that people have caught on camera. Well, Tony Davidson of Elsick, West End and Newcastle, my old stamping ground, did just that. While he was walking along the beach at Whitley Bay, early evening, he saw a grey figure of a young boy leaping from rock pool to rock pool on the exposed beach at low tide. He thought it was a bit late for a small child to be out alone, and then the figure became, in his words, sort of transparent. He picked up his camera and took a picture, and there clearly is a young boy wearing shorts, half clear, half invisible. Although the photograph is quite dark, the image was clear, absolutely vivid. He returned the following night to see if he could see the boy again. He only appeared on a Thursday, and the image made itself known. Always doing the same things, jumping on the slippery seaweed-covered stones, gazing into little watery pools on his honkers, on his haunches. He took, in total, 18 photographs of the boy. 3 were published in a paranormal newsletter. He also recorded fleeting footage on a camcorder where you can make out something moving around without it ever being truly distinctive. Yet once again, on the soundtrack to that short film, you can hear a lad jumping around, and you can make out what could well be his voice. Now, when this was discussed on the Night Owls programme, Mrs. Margaret Williams of Wallsend sent me a letter, and it said, I think it might be my son. This was November 2004. And the following Thursday, I arranged for her to go to Tony Davidson's house in Elsick to see Tony's photographs. The following week, she came back on air to say, it's my son David. Now, David had died the previous year of meningitis. Margaret had only moved into Wallsend following his death,
because she couldn't bear to be surrounded by a home so full of his memory. Yet this absolutely lit her up like a beacon. She says, this is a miracle. There he is, doing the one thing that he loved more than anything in the world. When he was at home, he had 3 fish tanks, one a saltwater aquarium, where he would keep crabs and fish that he would find in rock pools. Mind you, he looks a bit bigger than he was, but he's still going back to Whitley Bay. I checked my diary, and I found out that the very last time he visited the coast with me was on a Thursday, and he said it had been the happiest day of his life. Maybe deep down he knew that he would never get back in this life. 11 days later he was dead. He was 12. So Margaret now claims to be certain that there is life beyond this, and she's seen her son on the beach regularly around 6:45 on Thursday nights. She swears that he is captured on that camcorder tape and on those photographs playing by the rock pools. And this is the recording from the camcorder tape. We've taken off as much hiss as we can, and this is as good as it gets. Alan Robson, Scary Christmas. And a lot more to come. Something just felt as if it swept. I've just had a weirdest feeling. I've done a lot of visitations to places that have got horrendous histories with a lot of stuff going on in them. I've tried to take you across the world so that you can experience all of this stuff too. But what's just happened is it was like somebody carrying 2 balls of cotton wool just brushed them past my face. Both cheeks felt the same thing, and it was like they were, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but it makes your cheeks feel like they're almost anaesthetised, you know, they're kind of numb briefly. I don't know what that was. Anyway, over the weeks and over the months, a lot of people who are interested in this type of thing hear me giving out ancient ways of doing things. And it's surprising how many of the old ways seem to be successful. And here's another one you might want to try if you've got an old problem. Now this is if you have any kind of problem. If you were to suffer a problem that caused upset, irritation, annoyance, and what they used to call consternation, and you've got no way to solve this problem, but it's a regular problem. Could be health, could be to do with a relationship, could be to do with people around you that you've fallen out with, just something that gets you going. The pagans had another old remedy that might be worth trying. This could be a recurring problem like back pain, period difficulties, aching joints, or that difficulty with a friend or a member of your family that had hurt you. What you've got to do is dig out an old shoe, a shoe that you no longer wear, an old shoe that frankly you should have already chucked out, but an old shoe, everybody's got one in their cupboards. And you stamp on it as hard as you can 7 times. Then you take the shoe and you bury it in the garden. You cover it with soil. Some say you have to urinate on it to seal the contract. Different strands of faith believe you can achieve the same thing by writing down the problem on a piece of paper, spitting on it, and then burning it. but the principle's the same. And I think what it sums up more than anything is the wisdom of the old pagans and the old Celts, because it's closure. Instead of obsessing on something that maybe you can't change, you find closure on it, and you just stop allowing it to become such a big part of your existence anymore. Now we're getting kind of close to the time that we do our incantation to show you spirit. We're going to do that very soon. You will need a mirror, you will need a candle, and we do it slightly differently to the last one. The last one was to make people feel close. This is so that you can see what's in your own home. Only do this if you really want to know. If you don't want to know, if you want to live in comfortable ignorance, don't do it. Sincerely, do not do it. However, I got a couple of tales to tell you, then we're at that point. Scotland's not very far away. I'm working on something for Burns Night that will be stunning if it comes off, something to look forward to for the first week or two of the new year. But on a new housing estate, beneath the feet of unsuspecting residents, there's a hidden pit where legend has it leading directly to hell. It was said by some who live there to be the devil's route out into our world. Others claim it was only given that interpretation following the finding of a tangle of over a dozen bodies thought to have died during the Battle of Stirling centuries before. Several builders have confirmed that bodies were found, yet no one seems to know what happened to them. The building company claims never to have heard about the corpses, yet several of their staff have admitted to finding them. If they'd have brought in the authorities, it would have cost time and money. And as the company were to gain a bonus for completion on time, maybe we can understand their reluctance. So the houses were built, and apparently a wooden door to a cellar room was placed underneath the floorboards of one of the houses. This was so they didn't have to dig out the bodies. So they left the bodies beneath this floor. It was so well known that many of the workers even brought their friends to see the bodies, all wound up in literally a ball of bones and skulls. Then they finally nailed the floor down, when late at night they would hear the cellar door slam closed and noises coming from beneath it. Dark shapes moving around the building site and strange moans that began to freak out security staff. Add to this the family who began to hear strange noises in their house. The Mackeys decided to set up their video recorder in the living room to try and catch whatever was moving things around. To be honest, they presumed it was a rat, so loud were the noises. The film showed nothing, but the audio track showed quite a lot, including the heavy slamming of what seemed to be a cellar door. The family had no idea of the story of the battlefield bodies. Yet since then, they moved further into town, leaving the new family to contend with the disturbed energies that strive to be recognised and give a final place to rest. You can hear that noise now of those battlefield bodies in the cellar door. Thanks to Matt for being there to slot in all of this. Doing well, Matt. Thank you for that. As for me, I have 2 tales to tell, an incantation to do, and an exorcism to carry out. I'm in a dark place, and have no doubt whatsoever this is indeed a dark place. Alan Robson, Scary Christmas, on Metro Radio and across the world on the web. Alan Robson, up and physically on the move. There's a door here that I haven't actually looked in. Oh, listen to this. I'm standing here, not moving at all. And listen to all of this. It's a very small room. It's kind of like a walk-in cupboard, but there's a lot of noise here. And it's kind of like almost a charged atmosphere. Noise, racket in all directions. That's me shutting the door. Walk along and... God, fathers. I've just looked behind the door in the bathroom here, and directly behind the door is a full-length mirror, and I've just seen a full-length Robson. It's just my reflection in that. Why do people do that? What is that about? That's not remotely clever. However, now... Oh, hello. Hello, hello. Strange creaks and noises here, and I'm not moving. You can hear that I'm not moving, and yet there is strange noises going on. Now, there's a couple of things that I'm going to share with you now that are dark, and some people would say of dubious taste. But I'm going to share them with you because these are just a couple of things that people have requested that I haven't played on the Night Owls for a long, long time. The first one, I think, is absolutely amazing. It was taken from a Norwegian story that I was sent. As you know, I'm ambassador for Hell. It's a place in Norway. We've broadcast live shows from there on several occasions. I host a lot of blues and rock gigs in that part of the world. And hang on, what I'm going to do is go into the loo. I'm not going to take my pants down or anything, but I'm put the toilet seat down and sit in this room for a while. You should suss out the whole place. Let me tell you about this story. Now, a man was terminally ill with cancer. He was due to die. He'd been given roughly how long he would have, and it was only a few months. So he quit his job, and he decided that he was going to spend as much time with his wife and child as he possibly could. They loved each other as much as any family could. They truly had that special love for one another. And one day he was feeling a little bit poorly, so his wife and child went driving across the mountain to the shops in the big town nearby. Problem was, it was a snowy day, there was a bit of fog around, and as they were travelling up the mountain to get across to the other side where all of the shops were, a truck came down the hill, lost control on the ice and snow, skidded into that car and killed his wife and child. Now, on hearing the news, I don't think anybody can imagine how a terminally ill man who'd already had his head battered with that kind of thing could possibly respond to the fact that, yes, you're still going to die, but your wife has just been crushed to death in the car and your child is also dead. Well, this man had a few days of horror, a few days of absolute dejection. A blackness came over him. And he was reaching out. Now, he'd been in the army, because everybody in Norway has to spend some time in their armed forces. It's a bit like Israel and a few other countries across the world. Everybody has to take up national service. He had a pistol in his drawer, and he had to get it out. He felt he wanted to take his own life. In desperation, he decided he was going to telephone the only other member of his family that he trusted enough. And that person was his sister. What he really wanted, most people think, was to get his sister to talk him out of doing it. However, when he rang her number, he got her answer phone. And he left a message. And during that message, he killed himself. He shot himself in the head with his pistol. And you're going to hear that now. However, I would not merely play you something as dark as that without good reason. What you're about to hear is the exact tape that the police took out of his answer phone. It's been played in a court of law. It has also been featured in newspapers in Norway. No one could have removed that tape other than the police. The police did it when the sister had never heard from him and called the police because she couldn't get into his house. When she did, she found the body. So this is that actual tape. So why am I playing it? I'm playing it because it is one thing that proves beyond words that there are miracles to happen, hopefully to all of us. There are amazing things. We do go on. We do live on through death. We are reborn. It's my personal belief. You don't have to believe it, but I do ask you to listen. And I hope you enjoy something that we should perhaps not enjoy, the death of a fellow human being. So why should we enjoy it? Because he is reunited with the wife and child that he lost. How do we know? Because after you hear this man take his life, clearly on the answer phone tape, you can hear his wife say, "We're here, come to us," and beckon him to them. Now, when this was recorded on that answer phone tape, the wife and child had been dead for 8 days, so could not possibly add their voices to his suicide. Listen to this. At the very end, keep very quiet, and you will hear the voices of the dead. Alan Robson. Scary Christmas. Now, obviously, this happened in Norway, and the man is speaking in Norwegian. If you want to know what he says, essentially it's, "I can't take it anymore. I want to be with my family. I miss them so much. I don't want to wait until the cancer takes me. I want to go now."
Du min eneste gjenværende slektning, og jeg beklager at jeg plager deg med det her. Jeg har lagt igjen forsikringspolisene i garasjen sammen med bankbøker. Du får både huset og bilen, men begravelsen er det allerede gjort opp for, og jeg skal begraves ved siden av kona og sønnen min. Da Katarina og Jon døde, så har jeg ikke vært den samme siden. Jeg har ikke hatt noe å leve for, og jeg går nå fortsatt rundt her, men jeg har innsett at i dag endelig tida mi kommer. Så jeg skulle ønske at du hadde vært hjemme her nå, så har jeg fått snakket med deg. Jeg har sånn lyst til å si noen ord bare en gang til. Jeg er så glad i deg. Unnskyld.
Vi er her. Nei, det er ikke sant.
Alan Robson, Metro, and across the world on the web. So many things happening in this house. And I'm not really giving it my full attention yet. But I have a few stories to tell, including a one that I know you'll not want me to tell you. And the reason I say that is because it's horrible. But it's a classic. It's horrible, but it's a classic. And it's been checked out by Blockbuster Video, of all things. I don't know how many of you on a weeknight or a weekend evening maybe, you decide you can't be bothered with hitting the road or touring the pubs or do the whole nightclub thing. So instead, you just nip to Blockbuster and you get yourself a videotape or a DVD or a computer game or something to play. And that's exactly what one couple did. They decided that they were going to dig out the video from hell, which is essentially the Jack the Ripper story, and they were going to enjoy watching that whilst in bed with nibbles, which always seems to me to be a thoroughly nice thing to do. So there they are, watching this thing, when a ghost walks through their bedroom, past the television set, completely in front of both their faces. They see it absolutely clearly. This dark thing just moves straight across in front of their television set, and they freak. Now, they switch the television off, they put all the lights on in their house, they yatter and yabble and gabble to each other. Did you see that? Yes, I saw that. Did you? It was a man. Did you see how? What was it? Is it my Uncle Billy, the only person from their family that had died? If it's not him, who the hell was it that had one of those kind of garbled conversations and absolute panic? And then they decide to go downstairs, have a cup of tea, calm themselves down so that they can perhaps dare go back into their own bedroom and face whatever it was that was in that bedroom. The light's on. There's nobody there now. They're feeling a little bit better about it. Thank heavens for that. And then they decide to put their videotape back in their VHS recorder and wind it back to roughly where it was before they were so rudely interrupted by whatever that was. So, they put the tape back in. Now, anybody will tell you, you cannot record over Blockbuster videos because they're done in that way to stop you being allowed to. However, on that videotape, from the exact point where the entity entered the room, the tape was stained. This is what they heard, taken directly from that videotape.
Arthur Tabram was raped, tortured and killed. That's cruel. I've seen that sort of cruelty in the East End before. This is methodical.
The incredible video scream. Absolutely amazing. Scary Christmas. Alan Robson. From a house with a poltergeist and more voices directly above, well, not so much voices as clicks and bangs directly above my head. I'm on the first floor, and kind of standing underneath the hatch of the attic, and I don't know what it is, but I'm drawn to it. I'm going to have to go in there at some point. But we have more stories, one more story to tell you about Voices of the Dead. It's a relatively short story too. You hear that? There's creaks and bangs in this place. Discount 95% of what you yeah. I am being completely played with here. And I got a feeling that there's someone standing right beside me. To my right hand side, just behind my right shoulder. I'm holding the microphone with my right hand. And listen. And I sense that that's not there anymore. Turning around. Whatever I am doing is interesting. Whatever's here. Not far from where I am, just up the road from Durham to Sunderland. Pallion, in fact. Kenneth and Shirley are regular night owls. They've been married for almost 20 years. And maybe it was because of me they began to feel a genuine terror in their own house. I suggested a very simple thing, that everybody should record an empty room in their home for a few hours and then listen back to the tapes. It's a simple test to see if electronically things can be picked up that they readily volunteered to do. And every day for a week they put and I don't know what it is, must be some kind of computer wizard, but he put a recording device directly, like a microphone thing, attached to his computer. And he recorded an hour a day. And then when they got in, they would sit down, have something to eat, and they would listen to it back. Now, usually, there was nothing. Few bangs, a few scratches, but nothing that you would think is completely solid and proof of an afterlife. Until they began hearing a voice. And they decided to name this voice a lost soul. A lost soul. When they heard it, it made both of them weep uncontrollably, without either of them really knowing why. As I say, they had invested in some quite sophisticated computer equipment, and they forwarded me a copy of the recording. On hearing it, I felt a wave of pity spreading over me. I felt a lump in my throat. Historically, the land in Pallion, where their home is, was the site of a workhouse where children were forced to work along with the poor. And there are tales of mistreatment and rape and murder, but no specific tale to tightly link with the building. All we have is the sound of a lost soul in torment, sent to me via their very fancy computer on a sound file. Have a listen. Kenneth and Shirley, with the sound of the lost soul that they believe that they have captured.
You with Alan Robson, Metro Radio and across the world on the web, doing the kind of show that no one else does, live from a very noisy place. What the hell is that? I'm not sure whether... At first I heard that from another room, and I thought it was some kind of a voice, but it's... Don't know what that is, but I'm not far from it. Is it along here? Stopped. It's leading me back to this place, and it's the hatch of the attic. I'm looking up and there's a little brass connection on it. I could probably jump up to it, pull myself up. If I can get something, a pointy stick, to pull the trigger thing to release the hatch. But first we have something to do. I have to place certain things, and they are already placed in a number of rooms. Before I seal this off, I'm going to have to go in there. There's no question about it. But I think we should do our summation. I think we should link to you and your home and allow you to see spirit this night on Britain's Most Listened To. Now, I'm actually going to go downstairs for this, because there's two things I'm going to do that could potentially freak you out. So I will be going back upstairs. I have come downstairs now, and I thought I'm going to do something that could cause you to really freak. I'm going to do a couple of things that could cause you a few problems. So in a place like this, where I've never carried out such a thing before, I thought that what I'll do is go to the most benign room, and I feel that that is the kitchen area that leads to the conservatory. I'm in that place now. Now this is where you have to, if you're willing, attempt to see spirit. Some people have tried this a few times without success. Many people have tried it and they've had a result every time. How badly do you wish to see? And do you do this? Oh, there's just been a very, very loud click. The kettle has just switched itself on the opposite side of the room. That is not what I expected. I don't know whether you heard that. It was a clear, loud click there. Opposite side of the room. Anyway, let's get this done. So, what are we doing? You have to find a different mirror to the one we used before, where we were linking, where we were uniting with someone who had passed over to the other side. I want a different mirror. I want you to go into that room, a room with a different mirror. Ideally, a reasonably sized room. Place the mirror on a table in front of you, not the dressing table, on a different surface, a different mirror. Ideally not a bathroom mirror, somewhere where you can be comfortable, a table, dining table. Even if you are in your home, stay away from your television. You get a different type of reflection with that. But place a candle directly between you and the mirror. The candle should be lit. It should be the only light in that room. You see spirit better using the cones at the sides of your eyes. So what I'm asking you to do tonight is not to look straight ahead, because straight ahead is where that pinpoint of light from the candle is. You can't see anything through the flame of a candle. So you have to look with your eyes using the cones. You have to stay central, but look out of the sides of your eyes at what is either side of that candle, or the reflection in the mirror that is either side of that candle that's blocking the light. And you will see tonight. Now what you have to do is keep your eyes closed now. Close your eyes. The candle, make sure it's safe, is between you and the mirror. The candle approximately 2-3 inches away from the mirror. And you are looking either side of that, or you would be if your eyes were open, but your eyes are now closed. Now this is something that goes back to the time of Eleanor of Aquitaine, who was married to a very famous English king. She, from France, and she had a mystic, an astrologer, who told her that she could contact the dead members of her family that she loved so much by using this technique. It goes back a lot of years, and tonight you're blessed by being able to do it. Now immediately following this ceremony, music will be played. It is in fact Carmina Burana by Carl Orff. A lot of people mention it. Since I first started playing it, they've taken it on at football stadiums up and down the country. But this is where it began, on the Night Owls. So you're going to hear that music at the end. As soon as I say open your eyes, make sure you look either side of that candle, and you will see dark entities that are in your home right now. I ask you one final time, are you sure you want to see them? If you don't, you could switch the radio off if you choose, or just don't follow the instructions and keep listening in your home with the lights on. So, while the music plays, keep staring to either side of the candle as the mirror shows you its secrets. Do not turn around. No matter what you see, do not turn around. If you spin around to see a dark shape that you've spotted in the mirror, it will disappear. You will only see this in the reflection of your mirror. Open your minds and concentrate for the 3 minutes of the music. Do not break the huge chain that we're creating right across the north and right across the world. So take your positions. Lights off, candles lit, face the looking glass. Good hunting. Close your eyes firmly. Make sure they are in a position where, when you open them, you will be staring level with the top of that candle, able to see what is on either side, in reflection of what will be directly behind you in your own home. You have to repeat every line that I say, and then the music will play, and you'll have 3 minutes to concentrate and focus in and watch. And you'll see a fleeting glimpse of just some of the energy that's in your home. Now remember, it's really important that if you do see anything, you call me on Sunday night and you let me know what you've seen. Sunday night on the Night Owls program. I would love your company, and I would love to find out how successful you've been. Had we been doing a normal scary Christmas and I was in the studio, we could take calls immediately. But I'm here in this place with a job to do. So, eyes closed, candles lit. Repeat each line that I say. I say a line, you must repeat it. But it is important, do not turn around. No matter what you see, do not turn around. In the stillness of our twilight, we seek to help those on their way. Give us a glimpse, Almighty, of the travelling ones this day, as they go forth uttering. We see the shadows stirred with souls of man and woman. We hear their whispering word. We feel their gentle, airy touch. The breeze they leave behind. We hear the cries of their uncertainties as they gather with their kind. Protect us now as we guide them to heaven or fiery rocks. Let them swim in your glory through solstice to equinox. Open your eyes. Well, for those of you that have had an experience this evening so far, I thank you for taking it seriously. I know there will be many people who are doing this for some kind of strange kick. They will be less successful than those who showed respect and did it properly. It is something that comes from each of us, whether it is something that we can create, whether it's something we can generate ourselves. Many people believe that it is. If it is, that we have this strange power to be able to move objects and generate voices in rooms, or to make something fly off a shelf like we had earlier on upstairs. Winnie the Pooh, of all the things to send zipping across the room, Winnie the Pooh. I know I love all things Disney, but who or whatever's here doesn't know me well enough to know that. We have a few things to do, and I've got tools in various places around the house, because obviously I made sure I was set up here before. I have a lot of things, some things I can tell you about. This is a big heavyweight chalice, and I also have various little glass bottles with various substances therein to act as part of the ceremony. Some of this has already been sprinkled. I have fire, water, earth, and sky, and spirit. Everything that I need. And I think it's time to have one last look around and make sure that everything is in place before we finish tonight's ceremony. Now, the way that this works to completely clear a property, you have to, and I'm kind of sworn to secrecy with certain facets of what I'm doing. This is not a Christian cleansing, but a cleansing it is. And you have to go around certain rooms and say certain things and leave purifying salt and
water, earth, and the symbol of sky, which to me I have dozens of feathers here. Pigeon feathers and raven feathers, crow feathers, a whole host of different ones. And this seems like mumbo jumbo. It did to me when I first heard about this. I've got some dobs here as well, droops, and symbols, a few symbol related articles here too. Candles. Now, when I first heard about this is what you do, they say if you poo-poo it, and I'm sure a lot of you do, and I wouldn't blame you, because I certainly did when I first heard about it, you think, well, how can any of this possibly work? And it's like prayer. How can a prayer possibly work? It's a poem. How can, by reading a poem, you achieve anything? And I don't know, but it just works. If you put all of these certain things together, something aligns, and it works. Now downstairs, you'll notice whenever I've been remote, there's noise coming from upstairs, just heard it there. Yet when I'm down here, very little, certainly not half as much as upstairs, because I've already done a lot of solid preparation here. I'm just checking that everything that I need to have in place is in place, and we will finish an exorcism a little bit later on. So, in here, I'm back in the kitchen again. There's my things, all in place, along the window's edge, along the lintel at the bottom of doors leading into the conservatory. Let's go in there and make sure everything is in place. The only place that I haven't... Right, into the conservatory. Where's my stuff? Over here, there's my candle. And all of the things that I need. Excellent. Everything here is in place. Downstairs is set and solid. Now the problem is sometimes when I can hear a police car or something in the distance there. Sometimes when you get close to ending an energy, and some people say you're making it move into the light. Am I? I'm not sure that I am, but we're moving it out of here. It may merely become somebody else's problem. As you know, the energy that's supposed to be here is called Paul, a paranoid schizophrenic who held his own mother, a prisoner in her own home, and has subsequently been keeping Mrs. T, who lives here, pretty much a prisoner. She can't sell the property, or even her own family won't come here, and at the present moment she's living with friends who love her but want her out. And I already know she's listening tonight, and I'm treating your house with the utmost respect, but there is one thing I must do that you will probably not thank me for, and I think we'll do this upstairs where it's busier. That's what I think we should do, and go back up to the top of the stairs. Now there is a sound, there is a noise that I've found from the middle 1920s, and this is a sound that attracts spirits. It draws spirits to the sound. And turn your radio up quite loud, and what you're supposed to do is to stand in the middle of your room, ideally if you've got short sleeves, so that your arms are bare, legs are bare. If you want to do this sky clad, if you want to do it naked, you can. The reason for that sounds ridiculous, but why did people take all of their clothes off for ceremonies in years gone by? Because blimey, something just behind me there. All the hair on the back of my neck went back up like
like iron filings. The reason you take all your clothes off is that I'm thinking, you know, I'm here on my own. I could do that too. Be scary if anybody saw me, but tell you what, I'll compromise. I'll leave my combats on, but let me just put my broadcasting kit down just for a second. Gonna have to put this microphone down, so bear with me. Just taking my t-shirt off. Right. Okay, now, let's just put that over. Kind of stripped to the waist. Looking buff. Shall I play you a tune on my six-pack? Well, maybe not. And here I am. Now on the top of the stairs. Now, what you should do, wherever you happen to be in the house now, it really doesn't matter. You should be somewhere near to where the sound is emanating from. So wherever your radio is, or your speakers, if you're coming through like a sound system. This noise attracts spirit. Wherever spirit happens to be, this noise is said to draw spirit to the sound. So as soon as this fires off, doesn't matter whether you want it or whether you don't want it, this spirit will be drawn to you. Energy will be drawn into the space where the sound is. Now what you should do is, like me, bear whatever parts of your body you're prepared to bear, because your skin, the surface of your skin and all of the tiny hairs thereupon are receptors. They can feel things, they can sense things. You will be able to feel if there are entities around you, because you will feel them passing over your flesh. You'll feel them moving around you. You'll feel them touching you, stroking you, caressing you, and you will pick that up using the senses that your body is right across your body. This could absolutely work for you. Now, before I ask and move on whatever is here, I'm giving it the perfect opportunity to show itself to me. Now, I have to have one hand on the microphone, but the rest of my body is open for business to receive chest hair, your stomach. If you are not wearing clothes below the waist, or you just got little pants on or whatever, your legs, there's hair across your legs. There's a whole lot more reception areas on your body that you may wish to use. Now stand with your arms out to either sides, with your palm facing the way that you're looking. This is so that things moving past you will have to go through your arm, past your arm, around your arm, and you will very, very likely feel something on the hairs across your arm, hairs on your head, also your face, your cheeks, legs, thighs, or, and he said man breasts, but they're not quite man breasts. Right, let's do it. Arms outstretched. And we're going to play a noise from the 1930s, middle 20s to 1930s, it's 25 to 30 we were told. And this is said to generate spirit and bring spirit swarming around you. You close your eyes because you're concentrating on what you feel this time.
Alan Robson with you. Don't know about you, but I got all kinds there. I got a movement moving from left to right across my back, like a strange breeze. I felt a warmth on the back of my neck. I got a kind of almost like someone dragging hairs across my face. Very, very gentle and frankly a bit tickly across my face. I don't know what you got. I hope you got something. Now, whether that noise has anything to do with the energy in your home, whether it does rally the energy or not, I don't know. But what it does do is allows you to focus on what your body is actually feeling with your eyes closed. And I hope you got something there. Now, again, I'm going to have to put the kit down again. Just sorry about this, but it's a bit of a faff, but one-man operation tonight. So that goes there. Just if I'm going in the attic, I'm not going there topless, so let's just get my t-shirt back on again and picks up the kit. And I'm told that the thing that I need to get into the attic, if there's a little ring hoop here. Now, is it in that cupboard? No, it isn't. There's another little cupboard just on the top of the stairs. Oh, there it is. What I've been looking for. If there's something with a loop, well, oh yeah, that works. Oh, that looks black up there. The hatch is open. It's kind of swung down with... Oh, there's ladders up there. Oh, thank heavens. I was just going to pull myself up, but there's ladders up there. Hang on. Do they pull down? Oh, they must pull down. Oh, yeah, here they come. Right. See. And there's another one. How do these... I never used to watch Tomorrow's World. I'm beginning to wish I did. Not that this exactly is high tech. Oh, there's a button there. Right. Now, I thought about carrying out the exorcism in the attic, but I think first of all I've got to go and plant those things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, it's black up here. It's pitch black. Oh, there's a light. Well, I'm gonna switch it on for the moment. And there it is. Oh, jeepers. There's nothing that I can see up here, but I'm gonna kind of reach over and this is bizarre. There's nothing here that I can see, but there's a feeling of nastiness. But what I think I'll do is climb up, walk around and plant what I need to plant. And put some down here. And put some... Now, this is the place that I heard all kinds of things. Now, let us switch the light off again, because it's pitch black downstairs. It's even darker up here. Right, the light's off. And I'm going to sit with my legs hanging through the hatch in the hope that... Oh! Right. Paul? Is this where you are, Paul? Don't know whether you can hear, but there's
There is a movement up here. Oh, in the darkness, it gives you that extra cold chill up your spine. Paul, it's time for you to go. This is no longer your home. I know your mother betrayed you. Did you hear peeping noises there? Now, if you're wondering what's just happened, something that maybe I should have anticipated, the battery on my broadcasting kit just died while I was up there. One moment it was there, the next minute it was completely gone. I've placed in the attic the things that I needed to place, and I've come down out of there. I was getting a very bad feeling about it, so I'm going to carry out the exorcism directly beneath the hatch of the attic and hopefully see an end to it. However, I'm actually quite shaken by that. And I've been in a few places across the world. I remember when I was in that place in Ireland, I felt the energy kind of drain out of me. Now this is a time of night when I am absolutely wide awake, always wide awake at this time of night. This is when my body clock tells me that I'm firing on all cylinders. I feel completely drained. I feel a little bit dizzy. I'm seeing stars in front of my face, and I'm beginning to develop a really serious migraine in both my temples at the present moment. When I was up there in the attic, I was chatting away to Paul, telling him that his mother had betrayed him, but she was now long gone, and it was time for him to move on too. And there's noise going on up there now as we speak, just to my right hand side above the ceiling, and there's noise coming from behind me now as well. It's relentless what it is. There's a lot of stuff kicking off, and yes, you can say, and as I've told you to say, discount the vast majority. This is quite a heavyweight. Do you know, I feel as if I shut my eyes now, I could just literally fall asleep. Oh, forgive me. Seriously, this is like, it's almost dream-like, trance-like. I'm here at the present moment. I know what I haven't done. Incidentally, if you're wondering how have I replaced the battery, no, I haven't. In fact, I've got a long cable to link this to Mrs. T's electrical supply. Now, what I have to do is make this kind of jump. I think I can probably make it reach it. It's about 25 feet. Now through here is, hang on, can I do this or can I not? Hang on, bit of a tangle. Bear with me. Yeah, that's good. Right, so if that goes to there, am I still broadcasting? Yes, I am. If I take this with me, right, here I am. I'm in the bedroom. Now, the one thing I said I was going to do before we carried out the exorcism. Now, the problem here is, here's like a little chair like a stool from beside Mrs. T's dressing table. Now, because, this is a faff, because I can't get to the bed where she was attacked, the bed where she was assaulted, brutalised, and eventually hospitalised. The bed is like 5 feet in front of me. Now the cable, I can probably get the cable a little bit nearer. This is about as far as it'll go. You're about 3 feet away from the bed, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rest the microphone down there, something that I promised to do, and that was lie on the bed. Not because I'm going to fall fast asleep, because I'm not, but I'll speak slightly louder, and I'm going to jump on the bed and put myself in exactly the position that she was, holding my arms outstretched, trying. Now, Paul, if it is you, Paul, or whoever you are, I'm now in that position where all those years ago you hurt the lady who lives. This is her space now, and you hurt her here. I'm in that position. Are you coming out for me? Are you coming out for me? Because I'm here. Nothing. Nothing. Is that because she was a woman? Does that make you a coward? Does that make you weak? Does that make me strong? This is your last day here. This is your last moments here. I'm about to see you away. You will leave this place. Absolute silence. It's strange how so many times, hang on, just put the stool back. I want Mrs. T's house to be as near to the way that she left it for me. I'd be interested to hear from her where she keeps her Winnie the Pooh ornaments. It's strange, you know, you're here. Let's make sure that's still plugged into the mains. I hope that you're hearing this back at the ranch, and I hope you haven't just gone to play some music because I've disappeared. Right, I'm now directly beneath the hatch. It's very strange how sometimes if you are aggressive with things that you find in your home and you tell them stop, go away, when you are strong, it seems to work. It really does seem to work. It is something worth considering if you are ever finding yourself in that situation. Oh, that was weird. Red light on my kit just flashed a few times there. Electrical gear, you know, it's the first sign that there are things about. Now I must admit I didn't know whether I would see a full figure or feel fingers on you. There's stuff moving around in here, there's no question about that. And I'm directly beneath the hatch, and I am ready to begin to carry out this whole exorcism process, to finish it off. And when you're doing things like this, you can, oh hang on, there was like a clicky kind of noise. Now, what I have done while you've been listening to certain things tonight, I've been on two separate occasions when I was playing you those medleys of the Voices of the Dead that I recorded while I was back at Metro Radio. I've been going around beginning and incanting certain things that actually need to be said before I finish that off. I'm now standing away. All of the doors to all of the rooms are now closed and sealed and surrounded with purifying symbols, and I'm just here now to complete the exorcism that hopefully will bring tonight to an incredible close, and hopefully will seal this house and allow the space and the energy in here to return to normal again. And it's one of, it obviously hasn't yet. I don't actually know where that was. Hang on, let's just see if I can open this door. What was that? I'm opening it. Can't go too far. I'm kind of at the full extent of... You know, no matter how high-tech you get, you haven't actually got time to go back to the car and snatch those batteries that I have in there. They said you've got more than enough battery to last you 9 hours. I've been physically in this house, more creakings and gnarlings and stuff. I've got to stay in one place. Right. Okay. Now this has the possibility of also removing things from your home. It's powerful and it goes back a long way. I'm going to read it in Black Latin, and then I'm going to read it in English so that you know what we've done. And just finding the right place. I'm directly beneath the hatch to the attic where we have experienced... Oh, hang on, that's interesting. Did you hear something there? Oh, it's that cabinet again, it's rattling. Oh, most of the things are... Hang on, I'm going to... It's come out. Right. That's me doing it, not the cabinet itself, but the little buttons, the little kind of hanging things are doing it. So, let's do this. Can you hear that? There's... Okay, let's just get it done. Nos quo infortunatus orare pax. Nos quo infortunatus orare pax. Magnus anima dissedieri nos quis scire flagitare trutina in hic obus nos quo unfortunatus orare pax benedicieri tu et Spiritus Sanctus sine hoc es ita. And there was silence. What did I say in English for you? We, the unfortunate, crave peace. We, the unfortunate, crave peace. Great Spirit, depart. We who know urgently demand balance in this earth. We, the unfortunate, crave peace. Blessings to you, and Spirit Holy, let it be so. It's done. It's done. Everything's quiet. My headache's clearing. Time will tell. Alan Robson, allowing you to share in a very, very different Night Owls program tonight, and I hope that brings you peace and an insight into otherworldly things. It's what I've always wanted to show you. As a man who was the world's biggest skeptic, who didn't believe in gobbledygook. Doesn't it seem like gobbledygook? It does to me, even now. And yet, if this house is now clear for Mrs. T, I'm going to stay till the early hours of the morning. And then, if the place is clear, and I'll check it one final time, try and stir some stuff up, and if it happens, I'll cleanse it again. But it actually is starting to feel restored. A fresh space. And those night owls who contacted me because they want their home back can have it in time for Christmas. I hope you've enjoyed a very, very different type of night owls. And I thank you for your company. until Saturday night on the Hot and Heavy from 10. Or Sunday night on Night Owls when, if you've had any experience this night, share it with me. Send an email now, alan.robson@metroradiouk.com. Let me know. This has been the unique, scary Christmas. Alan Robson, Metro Radio and across the world on the web. And until we're together again, good night. God bless you. And I wish you well.